And honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach these days. Let's go to John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. To Abba there is one that accused you, even Moses in whom ye trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? So continuing on to what we was dealing with on Wednesday. Let's go back to 1 Chronicles chapter 12. In 1 Chronicles 12, I think we dealt with verse 17 and 18. We'll read, start at verse 17 again. David went out to meet them and answered and said unto them, if you become peaceably unto me to help me, my heart shall be knit unto you. Pick that up out the floor. Come back and pick it up out the floor. Get the fork too. Get the fork too. If you become peaceably unto me to help me, get that too. My heart shall be knit unto you. So remember we were talking about knit, and that's to be the word yakad, or to be alike. See, we know in John 15, Hamashiach say, I and you and me. But let's look at something else. Pause. Luke chapter 6, probably about verse 36. Make it 37. Luke 6 and 37. Judge not, and you shall not be judged. Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned. Forgive, and you shall be forgiven. Give, and it shall be given unto you good measure, pressed down and shaken together, running over, shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure that ye meet withal, it shall be measured to you again. And he spake a parable unto them. Can the blind lead the blind, and shall they not both fall into the ditch? The disciple is not above his master, but everyone that is perfect shall be as his master. So we see that again. He said, David said that they would be knit unto him, or yakad unto him, or alike. So they would be moved to be separated by the work. That's what we discussed a little bit on Wednesday. When we sit back and we look at what is the work, well, let's just go ahead and do it like this. John chapter 6. John chapter 6, verse 26. And after that, Ephesians chapter 2. Yahushua answered them and said, truly, truly, I say unto you, you seek me, not because you saw the miracles, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled. Labor not for the meat which perish, but for the meat which endure unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. For him have Elohim Abba sealed. Then said they unto him, what shall we do that we might work the works of Elohim? Yahushua answered and said unto them, this is the work of Elohim, that you believe on him whom he hath sent. So when we turn around and we look at we being moved to be separated by the work, we're being moved to be separated by the work, which is to believe on the Son of the living Elohim. When we believe on the Son of the living Elohim, then we'll begin to sanctify ourselves. And Acts chapter 26, about verse 17, maybe verse 19, Yahushua speaking to Paul, told Paul that they'll be sanctified by the faith that is in me. Hamashiach also made the same statement in the 17th chapter of John, where he stated to sanctify them with thy truth. Thy word is truth. And I sanctified myself by the truth, that they also might be sanctified by the truth. So he also wrote in the epistle to the Hebrews that he that sanctifieth and he that sanctified are one, for which cause he's not ashamed to call them brethren. So if we want to be knit unto him, or alike to him, to be, like it says, to be conformed to his image, then we need to be moving, to be separating ourselves by that work, which is the sacrifice, which we mentioned on Wednesday, the suffering in the flesh and the denial, and then manifesting the works of Elohim, which is the joy and the shalom and the peace and the long suffering and the faith and the love of Elohim and the self-control and all of these things, which will begin to work the works of Elohim. So everybody's screaming that they want to work the works of Elohim, but nobody wants to move themselves to be separated by it. Everybody said they want to be Christ-like, but he just said that everyone that is perfect shall be as his master. So if you're going to be as your master, you're going to be Yakad, or like your master. You're going to be like him. If you're going to be like him, then you have to move to separate yourself by the work which he did, and the work which sanctified him was the offering of himself. Ephesians chapter 2. Through the offering of himself and sanctifying himself in that fashion, then we begin to do the same thing. And after that, we'll go to Matthew. After this Ephesians 2, we go to Matthew chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 5, I suppose. Even when we were dead in sins, have quickened us together with a Mashiach, by carnal grace ye are saved, and have raised us together and made us sit together in Shamahim and Yahushua HaMashiach, that in the ages to come he might show the exceeding riches of his grace and his kindness towards us through Yahushua HaMashiach. For by carnal grace are you saved through faith, that is not of yourselves, is the gift of Elohim, not of works, lest any man should boast. For we are his workmanship, created in Yahushua HaMashiach unto good works, which Elohim have ordained that we should walk in them. So when you look at it, it's not of works, because we just had this conversation yesterday. I'm not going to go in great detail about it at this moment, but talking to some gentlemen, and these gentlemen was like, law. So your salvation would be, as it stated in Romans, that you would be justified by your works or what you did, and not that you ever needed Yahuwah at any point in time. We didn't get to this point in the conversation, but when you look at it, if you telling me that the law is the gospel, and the law shows me that I am a sinner, I have transgressed and am unworthy of death, at that point, you saying, oh, me just repenting and coming back to the law with the exclusion of the sacrifice of Yahushua HaMashiach and the mercy and kindness of which the living Elohim is manifested towards the sons of men, then it would be as if I didn't owe him anything. He didn't do anything for me. I'm justifying myself. As it tells you in Isaiah 53, the knowledge of my righteous servant will justify many. So then we have to seek on what it is that's going to get us our justification. What got your forefathers' justification in Egypt was their belief to put the blood on the doorpost. Like again, and we're talking about discernment, knowing about what's right and what's wrong. Understanding and be able to discern or to know or to recognize. Do you know what I'm saying? I mention to this to y'all regularly because it is imperative that you understand and know. Can you see, Paul, I know I mentioned something. Let's get to Matthew 5 right and then go to John 17. See, I didn't get a chance to tell the brothers. And clearly it wasn't y'all's will. Matthew 5 and about verse 14. You should be able to teach the law out of the New Testament and never go in the law. You should be able to preach Yahushua out the Old Testament and never have to go in the New. That's not, and again, people look at that as a braggadocious, arrogant, flexing type of thing. But that's what a ready scribe, as Ezra described, or a learned and skilled man in the scriptures of the living Elohim should be able to do, because it's for the edification and benefit of the people. The problem come in that is when men get lifted up in pride in their own heart and they think it's about them. If it's done for the edification of the people, then that's a reflection on the person who feels that way. I know this from living for 38 years that a lot of times it ain't not necessarily you. It's a lot of times people are projecting how they feel about themselves upon you because of whatever ability, talent, or gift that you may possess and whatever it is that you possess. Some people feel that way just because you're yourself. You know, you got a lot of people out here with low self-esteem. It's a sad state of affairs. Make it Matthew 5 and 13. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt hath lost his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is henceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden under the foot of men. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, that it give light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and esteem your Abba which is in Shamahim. So a lot of individuals look at, well, I'm keeping the law. That's good works. That's not shining your light because you don't eat pork. It's not necessarily even shining your light because you keep the Shabbat. But let's look at something. Come over here to Luke, right? Make sure I got what I want. I gotta remember where it's at. I'd rather read it to you than tell you about it. But it look like that's what we're gonna have to do. That's what it look like we're gonna have to do. Y'all willing to unless it come back to mind of the location, but the story that I was thinking of is the gentleman who, the Good Samaritan, as the white people like to dub it. Levite priest who knew the law, taught it. See this man laying in the street, wounds in him. None of them stopped to assist. One man stops to assist and tends to his wounds. Gets him a place to lay his head. This is a man who showed forth the good works of Elohim back to the law. They all relate back to the law when you're looking at what good works is. You know, good works is standing up for the oppressed in situations where somebody is being done wrong. Of how the law states that you're supposed to care for those that are without. See, if we would set things up and do things as, you know, one of the things our people scream is, you know, the culture, and, you know, we Hebrew this and Hebrew that. Instead of sitting back looking at it, let's see what the word says and set things up and run it just like it says. And won't have these problems. You know what I'm saying? Now, the problem does come in that, as it stated, as Paul wrote to Timothy, that evil men come in who are waxing worse and worse, seducing, and then deceiving and being deceived. And I think that's where a lot of people problem it come in at. I cannot relate to sitting in the church and being deceived. I don't have that experience. I don't know how that feels. So I can't speak to how anyone would feel who come out of that situation and say, I'm not joining the camp, congregation, assembly, whatever the case you want to call it, because I have been deceived or whatever the case may be beforehand. I can't speak to that. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people end up looking at that and they start turning away from Yah from that. And like I said, I can't speak to that. All right, appreciate it. I can't speak to that. Do you know what I'm saying? But what I can tell you is I wouldn't care what anybody did around you. Nah, it's bad. And behold, a certain lawyer that stood up and tempted him, saying, Master, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? He said unto him, What is written in Torah? How read thou? He answered and said, Thou shalt love with thy Elohim, with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy strength, and with all thy mind, and thy neighbor as thyself. He said unto him, Thou answered right, this do, and thou shalt live. But he, willing to justify himself, said unto Yahushua, Who is my neighbor? Yahushua answering said, A certain man went down to Jerusalem, to Jericho, and fell among thieves, which stripped him of his raiment, and wounded him, and departed, leaving him half dead. And by chance there came down a certain priest that way. When he saw him, he passed by on the other side. And likewise the Levite, when he was at the place, came and looked on him and passed by on the other side. But a certain Samaritan, as he journeyed, came where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion on him. And he went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring oil and wine, and set forth his own beast, and brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And on the morrow, when he departed, he took out 2 pence, and gave them to the host, and said unto him, Take care of him, and whatsoever thou spend more, when I come again, I will repay thee. Which now of these three think thou was neighbor unto him that fell among the thieves? He said, He that showed mercy on him. Then said Yahushua unto him, Go and do thou likewise. So when you look at this here, right, he said, take care of him, and whatever you spend more, I'll pay you back. Now, I was going to mention this the next week, but I'll go ahead and do it right now, right? Come back to Luke chapter 6, I believe. It ain't Luke 6 that I'm thinking about. That don't have that exact word. That's not what I'm looking for. But we'll do it. Luke 6 and 30. He said, Give to every man that ask of thee, and of him that take away thy goods, ask them not again. So you have to pay attention to what he's telling you. Or the reason why he's telling you this, because again, this is to be separated by the works. He said, if anybody asks you of something, give it to him. And if you give it to him, don't ask them to pay you back. You have to recall that and remember this here. Why is he telling you this? And as you would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise. For if you love them which love you, what thank have ye? For sinners also love those that love them. And if you do good to them which do good to you, what thank have ye? For sinners also do even the same. If you lend to them whom you hope to receive, what thank have ye? For sinners also lend to sinners to receive as much again. But love your enemies and do good and lend, hoping for nothing again, and your reward shall be great. Ye shall be the children of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. Be therefore merciful as your Abba also is merciful. See, a lot of people look at that and see that's that soft stuff, turn the other cheek, not knowing this is in Tanakh, this is in Torah, what he's telling you to do. It tell you in Proverbs that if your enemy thirsts, give him something to drink. And if he hunger, feed him. Can doing so, you'll heap of coals of fire on his head. Because when he talking about love, he ain't talking about that love, what like people got, oh, kumbaya and holding hands and patting each other on the head. Showing love means to show manifestation of mercy and compassion on someone who's without, even if you have judged them as your enemy, even if you've judged them as someone who you don't fool with. That is the test of godly character, of which niggas don't even sit back and look at, because every single last one of us was an enemy to Yahuwah, and yet he fed you. This ain't nothing new that I'm saying. We done said it numerous times before. Yet he clothed you. Yet he sheltered you. So that's where you supposed to look at and be able to say, you know what? I can turn around and I can do the same thing and show this is your letting your light shine. Letting your light shine ain't about keeping no laws, man. That's not what that's about. It's not what that's about. You're not shining a light because you're keeping tabernacles. That's not to diminish the fact of keeping the feast. You shining your light by actually being light. Yahushua said he the light of the world. Light, see, pause. Ephesians 5, right? Let's look what light do. Remember, you do good to those that hate you. You heap coals of fire on their head. That's a real test of your character. It's easy to be good and kind to someone who you like and who you love. But can you be good and kind to someone who don't like you or don't love you or who you don't like or who you don't love, whom you judge that is your enemy for whatever case? Because it ain't no offense if you judge one to be your enemy. The only offense is if you judge one to be your enemy without cause. This person ain't done nothing. Now you wrong. If they done something to be counted as your enemy, you're not wrong for that. You're gonna be wrong for how you treat them. That's the difference. What it is, man? Ephesians 5, right? Pick it up what? By verse 7. We'll pick it up at verse 6. Say, let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things come the wrath of Elohim upon the children of disobedience. Be not ye therefore partakers with them. For you were sometimes darkness, but now you are light in the master. Walk as children of the light. For the fruit of the Ruach is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is acceptable unto the master, and have no fellowship with darkness, with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done in secret. But all things that are reproved are made manifest by the light, for whatsoever doth make manifest is light. So when you let your light shine, men are reproved just on the strength of that. Because it's going to illuminate on the darkness. Just like you say, those who love darkness don't come to the light, lest their deeds should be reproved. People not going to come to Yahushua because you're going to have to be corrected. People not going to want to come to the sons and daughters of Elohim because they're going to have to correct their behavior. We don't sit back and look at it in this aspect. But if we want to be a light, we have to be moved and be separated by that word of what he did. One of the works that he did was to show mercy and compassion. One of the works that he did was to reprove and to rebuke. One of the works that he did was to feed those that are without. You got a statement when he told, well, Mashiach said that when you make a feast, don't call your friends, call the poor, the blind, and the lame, because they can't pay you back. Because you'll be paid back at the resurrection of the just. That's why he say whatever he spent, I'll pay that back when he comes. So if you gave and you spent and you ain't got nothing in return, you're going to get that back when that individual who bound up your wounds and put you on that beast, that he'll pay you back when he get back. He'll pay you back when he get back. I say, man, we talking to gentlemen, the first thing they want to try to win me with is, are you Israel? I don't care nothing about that, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm well long gone past that point of even caring about that. Me knowing I'm Israel is not, it's nothing. You have to start turning your mind to say, you know what? I need to be a son and daughter of Elohim. Being just a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is no longer sufficient. Romans chapter 9 for that. It's no longer sufficient. That's not enough. Why is it not enough? Because you want to sit back and you want to be children of the promise. Abraham was made a promise to him. Abraham believed, it was counted to him as righteousness. You want to start moving to that point to be counted righteous to Elohim because you believe. And just like we done told you many times before, because you believe, then you'll live by what you believe. Romans 9, right? Verse 6. Say not as though the word of Elohim have taken none effect, for they are not all Yashar'al, which are Yashar'al, neither because they are the seed of Abraham, are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of Elohim, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. Now that's going to go into what we talking about somewhat this evening about discernment. Oh, because you the seed of Abraham? Pause. Matthew chapter 3. Because you the seed of Abraham, that means something, huh? After that, John 8, that means something because you the seed of Abraham. But he said that don't mean nothing. He said those that are the other promise are counted as the children. So because you the seed of Yashar'al, because you Abraham, you Isaac, and you Jacob kinfolk, that don't mean nothing to y'all. It means absolutely nothing. It means nothing other than you get an opportunity first to hear the word of salvation. That's all it means. That's all it means. Matter of fact, before we read the John 8, we'll go to Ezekiel 15. But we're going to read this Matthew 3 first, though. Matthew chapter 3, verse 5. Then went out to him Jerusalem and all Yehuda and all the region round about Jordan, and were immersed of him in Jordan, confessing their sins. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism, he said unto them, O generation of vipers, who have warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Bring forth therefore fruits meet for repentance. And think not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For I say unto you that Elohim is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. See, that's the first thing our people want to scream. I'm an Israelite. And he said, you need to bring forth fruits meet for repentance. So nobody don't care nothing about, y'all don't care nothing about that. You don't care nothing about that. That's what we hold our hat on. I'm an Israelite, but you wicked though. So that didn't profit you. What did Paul tell you in Romans 3? What profit have the Yahudim? What profit is the circumcision? Chiefly in every way, because the oracles of Elohim were committed unto you first. So because the word is committed unto you, that is your advantage. Your advantage is that the word of salvation come to you first. But like we mentioned on Wednesday, we judge ourselves unworthy of salvation and reject it. Ezekiel 15:1. And we running around here talking about you Israel, and you ain't been born again. Your heart ain't right. That's not going to deliver you. That man's not going to say, you know what, that's an Israelite, I'm a savior. He contrary to me in every way. That man law say if you're contrary to him, he's going to be contrary to you. You don't believe. He said these are children in whom have no faith. You don't believe nothing I say. Why would I do this? You got to sit back and think about that. Man, I ain't have what I wanted. I'm sorry. It's Ezekiel 14. 14 and 12. Ezekiel 14 and 12. The word of Yahuwah came again to me, saying, Son of man, when the land sin against me by trespassing grievously, then will I stretch out my hand upon it. I will break the staff of bread thereof, and I will send famine upon it. And I will cut off man and beast from it. Though these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they should deliver but their own souls by their righteousness, saith Yahuwah Elohim. If I cause noisome beasts to pass through the land, and they spoil it, so that it be desolate, that no man pass through because of the beast. Though these three men were in it, as I live, saith Yahuwah, they shall deliver neither sons nor daughters, they only shall be delivered, but the land shall be desolate. Or if I bring sword upon that land, and say, sword, go through the land, so that I cut off man and beast from it. Though these three men were in it, as I live, saith Yahuwah Elohim, they shall deliver neither sons nor daughters, but they only shall be delivered themselves. Or if I send a pestilence into the land, and pour out my fury upon it in blood, to cut off from it man and beast. Though Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, as I live, saith Yahuwah Elohim, they shall deliver neither son nor daughter, but they shall deliver their own souls by their righteousness. So he mentioned Noah, Daniel, and Job. Noah was a man who had discernment because he took heed to Yah's voice, and he built that ark. He believed. He saved his whole family and his household, 8 people. So you notice that he said even if Noah was in this place, he swore in his name. He only going to save himself. He going to save nobody else. He said, well, look at Daniel, man who was called greatly beloved. He said, only by his righteousness will he be saved. And then lastly, Job. And all three of these men had one thing in common. They all trusted and believed in the living God. So you knowing you an Israelite is not going to save you. Because if you're contrary, he's going to take you out. So he said they'll be delivered by their righteousness. Well, what is the righteousness of Elohim? It is to believe on Elohim. Period. That's what made your father Abraham righteous. He believed Yah. Yah counted it to him for righteousness. That's what's going to deliver you. Because of course, if you believe on him, then of course you're not going to be committing the trespasses that were mentioned in this chapter. That's common sense. We had a conversation with a nigga like, if you believe, how you going to sin if you believe? Sin is evidence that you don't believe. Because if you did believe, you would refrain and suffer. And when we say that a sin is the evidence that you don't believe that Yah will render the promise. The example of that here with discernment is this. Very simple example too. When you look at when Satan tempted a Mashiach, if Mashiach didn't believe that Yah would render him all the kingdoms of the world and all the riches, then he would have took Satan up on his offer. And then therefore that trespass would have showed that he did not believe. It's just that simple. But because he resisted and said, I will deny myself, that means the promise that my Abba made to me, I know that he is capable and able to fulfill. See, look at something in Romans chapter 4. See, it's something as simple as this right here, right? When you look at qualities of something, everybody sit back. I know you hear people say, at least I've heard, maybe not necessarily and the Hebrew side of things. Romans 4:17. Maybe even in the Hebrew side of things. I don't know. I don't talk to a whole bunch of people no more like that. But make that 4:13. Romans 4:13. I gotta swing back and get to the point in a minute. That people say, I want a man or a woman of faith. I don't even think most people can recognize that quality if it was standing and looking at them in their face. It's manifest to those that have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to understand and perceive. But it's not necessarily made manifest to the regular common people. Because faith takes an attribute that I don't think many people in this world possess, word or no word, and that's endurance. Do you know what I'm saying? And perseverance. I don't think many people have that because most people don't want to wait. For the promise, this is Romans 4:13. For the promise that he should be heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through Torah, but through the righteousness of faith. For if they which are the Torah be heirs, faith is made void, and the promise made of none effect. This was what we were talking about in the conversation. When Yah made a covenant with Abraham, no law was involved because Abraham knew the law. We know that from Genesis 14. We know that from Genesis 18. But the first time he told him, get up from amongst your kindred and go to the place that I tell you, that was a covenant made by promise, because he said, I'll make you a great nation and a seed to come out of you. That's what he told him in Genesis 12. Ain't hand him no stone tablets and say, follow these instructions. He made a promise to him. And he believed it. So that's what it come down to, that will you be willing to endure and take whatever it is necessary to receive what Yah promised you? That's why I mentioned he promised Yahushua that he would be have dominion from one end of the earth into the other, and that he returned back to the first dominion, as when Adam had dominion over the whole earth. So when Satan come through and say, I got all these kingdoms here, man, I give them to you if you worship me. If I do this, that means I don't believe my Abba, and therefore I have sinned. That's why lack of faith is such a great transgression against Elohim, because you don't trust in him. So it means, in essence, you're telling him he is not able and capable to perform the word of which he spoke. We can't even see how that's more grievous than sitting back talking about a nigga ate a pork chop. You ain't eating no pork, but you don't believe in Yah. You keeping Shabbat, but you don't believe in Yah. You keeping feast, but you don't believe in Yah. You a double-minded man, unstable in all your ways. What you think you gonna get from him? Absolutely nothing. Because Torah work wrath. For where no Torah is, there is no transgression. Therefore, it is of faith that it might be by grace to the end, the promise might be sure to all the seed, not only to they which is of Torah, but also which is the faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all. As it is written, I've made thee a father of many nations, before him who he believed, even Elohim, who quickened the dead, and called those things which be not as though they were, who against hope believed in hope, that he might become the father of many nations, according to that which was spoken, so shall thy seed be. And being not weak in faith, he considered not his own body now dead when he was about 100 years old, neither yet the deadness of Sarah's womb. He staggered not at the promise of Elohim through unbelief, but was strong in faith, giving esteem to Elohim, and being fully persuaded that which he had promised, he was able also to perform. Therefore it was imputed to him for righteousness. Now, again, this is still taking us back to talking about the word knit. Because David, like I said, he said David was a man after his own heart. So that means David was knit with Elohim. He was like Yah. He was like Yah. And see, we look at him, some people look at it like Yah because he was a warrior. He was a man of war and he shed blood, and overlooked the wisdom that he executed, the compassion that he executed, the self-control that he executed, the mercies that he executed. This is the part that people overlook when they see that he is a man after Yah's own heart. They only look at the warfare. When he had a chance to kill Saul, he did, and he showed mercy. When he had a chance to sit back and destroy Nabal, when Abigail came and gave him wisdom, he exercised self-control and repented of the evil that he was going to do. when the people took all the stuff and the people were complaining about, oh man, they ain't sit back. He showed compassion, and wisdom when he said, hey man, divide to everybody the same. As him that went to go get the stuff, to him who stayed back with it. Also showing equity and justice and judgment in the same token. His only fall, his only slip up was putting his ding-a-ling somewhere it didn't belong. You know what I'm saying? But all that came into putting the ding-a-ling somewhere where it didn't belong. No, he wasn't going to hit it and quit it because he already know I want that one there. So the whole thing sprung from placing your ding-a-ling somewhere where it didn't belong. You know what I'm saying? That's the genesis of the whole thing. Your ding-a-ling ain't belong around there. That's somebody else's wife. That's somebody else's lamb. You leave that alone. You got plenty of them over here. I give you 30 of them. He said, I want that one. But that's what you look at when you're talking about the works. The works is compassion, mercy, judgment. This is stuff where the light shining. Nigga, you ain't shining because you got some fringes on the bottom of your shirt. Nigga think they shining. Nigga sitting back look. And the word part is, I'm going to keep that to myself. Because some of them nigga fringes leave looking cheap. Do you know what I'm saying? They didn't look like you went and got good fabric. I ain't lying. Look like you ain't even get nobody to stitch it good. At least if you're going to do it, be fresh with it. Shoot, don't be cheap with it. Then the worst part is you got people who argue about that. Should it be all the way around the bottom of your shirt? Or should it just be 4 tassels hanging from your garment? But like I've told y'all before, I tell you again, I don't really care who get offended about it. I ain't got time to be walking around looking down at my shirt to remember not to sin. That word should already be in my heart to let me know not to sin. If I got to sit back and look at, I know I got a wife at home. Let me look down at these fringes to remember not to go a horn after my own heart. I'm already scarred. I don't believe in y'all. We need to get to the point that if the new covenant is the Ruach HaKodesh and that law ain't in your heart, that mean that word, that spirit ain't in you, your sins ain't forgiven. Stew on that for a moment. If you ain't received the spirit, that means your sins ain't forgiven. Because he said in the process that he said, I remember their sin and iniquity no more. So the imparting of that gift is the imparting of the washing away of your sins. Let that stew in your heart for a moment. That's why it's imperative. That's why it's imperative. Nevertheless, let's move on from this. Let's go back to 1 Chronicles chapter 12. Let's move on from this. We were just rehashing something we were talking about. Verse 17 again. I need to get to my points. All the way around the board. David went out, this is verse 17. David went out to meet, to answer and said unto them, if you become peaceably unto me to help me, my heart shall be knit unto you. But if you come to betray me to my enemies, seeing there's no wrong in my hands, the Elohim of our fathers look thereon and rebuke it. The Ruach came upon Amasa, who was chief of the captains. He said, thine are we, David, and on thy side, thou son of Jesse, shalom. Shalom be unto thee, and shalom be to thy helpers, for Elohim helped thee. Then David received them and made them captains of the band. And there fell some of Manasseh to David when he came with the Philistines against Saul to battle, but they helped him not. For the master of the Philistines, upon advisement, sent him away, saying he will fall to his master Saul to the jeopardy of our heads. See, they were scared. They thought Saul was going to kill him. They said, we're going to get killed too, so let's let him go. And he went to Ziklag, and there fell to him of Manasseh, and Adonai, and Jozabad, and Jediel, and Michael, and Jozabad, and Elihu, and Zilthai, captains of the thousands that were of Manasseh, and they helped David against the band of rovers, for they were all mighty men of valor and were captains in the host. For at that time, day by day, there came to David to help him until it was a great host, like the host of Elohim. So when you sit back and look at it, it was so many men coming to help him that it looked like them thousands of Malachim you read about to come help him to translate this kingdom. But also these are people who are supporting him. So when you look at all these people who coming to help him, you should think of this. Revelation chapter 7. 7 and 9. And after this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations, of kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, and clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, salvation To our Elohim will sit upon the throne and unto the Lamb. So again, he said he's seen all these people coming to help or supporters. So how do we look at this, right? This is kind of my mind, right? We think about Matthew, the 25th chapter, you know what I mean? And he tell you that, let's just get it. Let's just get it. It just make it easier. Because I just felt like I was going to say it wrong. 25. 25 and 35. Make it 34. Then shall the Malik say unto them on his right hand, Come ye Baruch of my Abba, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For when I was hungered, you gave me meat. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Master, when saw we thee a hungered, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in, or naked, and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? And the Malik shall answer and say unto them, Truly I say unto you, inasmuch as you've done it unto me, of the least of these my brethren, you've done it unto me. I'm sorry, he said, Truly I say unto you, inasmuch as you've done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, you've done it unto me. So what is he telling you when you're looking at about it being a supporter or a helper? When we look at it in this aspect and you being alike him or moved to be separated unto the work, remember he said unto the least of these my brethren. Is it wrong to go visit sick people that are not in the word? No, ain't nothing wrong with it. Is it wrong to go visit somebody who locked up? Who not in the word? No, ain't nothing wrong with it. That ain't who he talking about, though. You have a lot of people read this and think this is talking about people in general. He told you exactly who this was you were doing this to. He said, the least of these of my brethren. Who is my brother? But he that do the will of Elohim. Jeremiah got locked up. Micaiah got locked up. That's who he talking about. Peter got locked up. Them people went to go see him. When you look at somebody sick, Hezekiah fell sick. Isaiah came to come see him. This ain't talking about the sick lady at the old folks' home. Ain't nothing wrong if you want to go see the sick lady at the old folks' home. I'm not saying anything wrong with it at all. But if we talking about what the script talking about, know what that script talking about. So when you support one another, you support him because we supposed to be in him. Remember, knit, alike, yakad. Come on now, move to be separated by the word. You have to sit back and look at that. That meaning that if one is in the faith, you're supposed to look out for the household of the faith first before you look out for somebody outside the household of the faith. That's all he's telling you. If you seen a brother who was in the word and he told you he was hungry and you ain't feed him, you're a wicked bastard. You're a wicked bastard because you didn't feed Yahusha. That's who you ain't feed. We could look at Luke where it say the women came and ministered under Yahusha of their substance. How the people, it's no different than when Elisha was walking past and I said, that's a man of Elohim. Make him a bed, set him a table and a candle, and set him some food here. The same way the widow woman did it for Elijah. The same way that these people seen these men and say, we're going to look out for them. The same way when that Malachim, who Samson's parents didn't recognize war one, they say, well, let us make your son to eat. The same way Lot, them say, man, nah, man, don't lodge in the street. Man, come in the house. They were strangers. He took them in. So they did that to Yah, entertaining the Malachim unaware. They ain't even know it. See, we get dealing with the word, and like I say, man, and y'all willing, we'll deal with it next week. You got a congregation. Congregation's supposed to look out for each other. Then they supposed to look out for other congregations. See, the problem we have now is congregations don't fool with each other. We over here doing what we doing, and I don't mess with you because you ain't over here messing with us. That's not how this works. This is not how any of this works. Do you know what I'm saying? We done went out and hollered at people. I ain't got no problem with it. If they fool with us or not is another story. I'm always open to it. I ain't got no problem with it. You do your thing, we do all. But we supposed to be linked tight. You ain't got to be all up in people's face and call them every day. If we all in the same body, we supposed to be linked tight. You laboring in your part of the vineyard, I'm laboring in mine. But you got niggas be like, oh, they ain't part of our camp. They ain't part of our con. You look at them funny. That's sucker stuff. That's not real. That's not 100. Before you even get to being godly, that make me question even being around you. Me personally, I can't be around no suckers, man. Not on a continual basis. I can be peaceful with you, but I'm not going to kick it with you. Straight up, though. That's not how this works. You know what I mean? It's not. That's not how this works. It's not how this works. I wouldn't care if your congregation was in Seattle. I wouldn't care if it was in England. I wouldn't care if it was in Timbuktu. I wouldn't care if it was Crosstown in Jacksonville. That's how that's supposed to work. You're supposed to take care of the people in your congregation first. And if you hear somebody in another congregation got need, the individual will pull their stuff together. But we got a bunch of free agents out here just floating in the wind. And that's not how this works. That's not what he ordained. That's not what he set up. We wonder why we don't have the things moving how we want to move it, because we're moving contrary to the will of Elohim. Because we want to do it how we feel like it should be done. Ain't too many people out here know somebody who locked up behind the word for them to go visit them. If that nigga locked up, that nigga was wicked. And it don't necessarily mean that he was wicked, that he committed the crime that he incarcerated for, but you know he was out here living sour. Ain't nowhere in the world somebody could have came and told me when I was doing them 4.5 years I was a just and upright man. Nigga, I wouldn't have been in that prison then. You know what I'm saying? It's people who've been sick in the word and people wouldn't have seen them. It's people who ain't had no clothes. That's who you're supposed to look out for first. Because that's looking out for him. Somebody who, how you looking out for Yahushua, looking out for a sinner? That's not to say that you're not supposed to do that. That's not contradicting what we read in Luke. But you didn't do that for Yahushua because that person is not in him. This simple common sense. People scream all this stuff. This stuff simple common sense. You look out for your people first. When I say your people, those who are of the faith. Then you branch out. That's how you let your light shine. That's why he said that. That's why we read that Luke 10. Who is my neighbor? Nigga looking to justify himself. What? Come on, man. Come on, man. We got to be better than that. Come on back to Chronicles, man. We got to be better than that. It's just about to understand. You got to understand that you know how to operate and move. Ain't too many people in no congregation got no widows. Like I seen a brother, I ain't against what he was trying to do. He said he wanted to raise money up for single mothers. That's commendable. Ain't nothing in our book talking about doing nothing for no single mothers because no such thing existed. Do you know what I'm saying? Well, that would have been with just something that would be done for the poor. This is the difference. They took a pool of money for the poor. Remember, our law said the poor will always be with you. So they had a pool of money that was for the poor to distribute it to the necessities. That had nothing to do with tithes. That was something totally different. Most of our people don't even know the multiple different offerings and what they were for. Don't even know. Most people think, oh, it was just food. They gave food, they gave money and all for multiple different things. You know what I'm saying? For multiple different things. Look, I told you a while back when we were looking at, they had a building fund and all. We mock Christian churches for it. It's in our law, though. It's in our law, though. See, if we gonna sit back, see, that's the whole key thing. We scream law, law, law till it's time to actually execute it. Then niggas sit looking crazy. Then niggas sit looking crazy. If you're gonna do it, then do it. If you're not gonna do it, then just don't do it. But don't claim it and you're not gonna do it. If you're gonna do it right. Or don't do it at all. Back to 1 Chronicles, man. We move our way down, man. Let's get to the point. Let's get to why we here, man. Let's get to why we here, man. Let's pick ourselves up in about verse 32, man. We'll pick it up at verse 30. I don't want to get some understanding. We'll have to deal with that stuff with the poor again. I know I dealt with it about a couple years ago, man. We have to do it in a different fashion this time, y'all willing. And just look at it and go through it and get an understanding. And in the process of doing that, y'all willing, we'll sit back and look at how congregations were supposed to be set up and functioned. See, that's the thing that it'd be a twofold thing. You'll see how to take care of the poor, and you'll see how a congregation was set up and how it's supposed to function. Remember, it's supposed to be order in the house of Elohim. So it's the way that thing's supposed to go. You know what I'm saying? Because we're supposed to look out for each other. You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me twisted what we mentioned about a single mother too, right? Because we know most of these women had these kids before they were in the word. So they didn't know no better. So you're not going to hold that to their charge. You know what I'm saying? I'm just mentioning the fact that a single mother fund or things of that nature was not in our law because such a thing was not an acceptable behavior. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, there wouldn't be a provision for that. Do you know what I'm saying? The provision was for the fatherless and the widows, because a woman's husband dying wasn't something that could occur. So therefore, that's why he set a provision for it. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't setting no provision for the works of fornication. We have to know that and understand that. Do you know what I'm saying? But we also understand where we at now. You ain't know no word. So whatever you children you had, that's what you had when you didn't know no better. So we're not going to hold that to you. The difference is if you busting out babies and you knew the word, I ain't giving you a coin. Do you know what I'm saying? Not me. No, you're going to have to figure that out on your own. You're going to have to suffer. You're going to have to suffer for a season for that one. You knew the word and you still busting out babies and you ain't got no husband? Come on, man. Come on, man. How are we going to condone that one? You can't condone that one. You know why I say that? Because you know what our law say. Get that evil from amongst you. Put them to shame for a season from amongst the congregation, that they might be ashamed, that all others might hear and fear. It is what it is, man. It's not enabling and turning your head from people's behavior. That's not a lack of mercy and compassion. That's what our law subscribes to do. It's hard, it's tight, but it is what it is. That's what he subscribed to do, because a person ought to be ashamed. We ought to be ashamed. We shouldn't be knowing the word and going contrary to it and be comfortable with that. We ought to be ashamed. And through that shame, you ought to turn from it and to never do it again. And for those who see that, they should say, you know what? Not I, said the cat. That's what Paul wrote to them people, man. He said, hey, man, I do not repent that I sorrowed you, that I made you sorry by this letter. Hopefully it bring godly repentance. I ain't, he said, man, I ain't mad. I ain't finna return from the fact that I made you sad because you wrong. We want people to feel good when they wrong. That ain't right. That ain't right. That's not helping nobody. When you ever seen y'all made somebody feel good when they was wrong? You shouldn't be feeling good when you wrong. That's the world we live in, man. That junk ain't right, boy. That ain't gonna get us nowhere. It ain't gonna get us to where we say we want to be. And that city where the tree of life sit in the midst of it, that ain't gonna get us where we want to be. Not like that. Yahusha ain't walk around and make nobody feel good when they was wrong. The only way you can sit back and say he made somebody feel good because he said, look here, I ain't gonna kill you. And there's plenty of time we can read where y'all told somebody, look here, I ain't gonna kill you. He could have killed David. He said, I ain't gonna kill you. He could have killed Solomon. He said, I ain't gonna kill you. Same mercy and compassion always been sold by Yahuwah. Nevertheless, 1 Chronicles 12 and 30. And the children of Ephraim, 20,800 mighty men of valor, famous throughout the house of their fathers. And half the tribe of Manasseh, 18,000, which were expressed by name to come and make David king. And the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Yashar'al ought to do. The heads of them were 200, and all their brethren were at their commandment. Of Zebulun, such as went forth to battle, expert in war, with all instruments of war. 50,000 which could keep rank, they were not of double heart. So when we look at it, when it say double heart, when it say double heart, it's just layup. It's just layup twice. So when you look at it, when it said not without double heart, they were not without heart. They were not without the teaching of the Son. They were not without the teachings of the house. They had that. But then when we look at it, he said they were men who had the understanding of the times of what Yashar'al ought to do. Remember, we talked about that. That's the bin na, and that's the bat, yod, noon, and hay. And we're going to behold the works of the Son, which brings life continual. When we look at to do, it's to fashion, to accomplish the work of produce. And it's asah. You have the ayin, the shan, and the hay. And we come with that there to see that that man would raise arms, experience the consumption by cutting. Or basically that work that we coming to accomplish is that sacrifice. So they understood what to do. They understood that they could see the behold, the works of the Son that bring life continual. And what was it that they were beholding? They were beholding a sacrifice, or what we talked about Wednesday, a suffering in the flesh. So when you understand the time and what you ought to do in times is akh. So you have the ayin and the ta. So you experience the covenant. Well, what is it to experience the covenant? Hebrew chapter 9. How are you going to experience the covenant? So when you understand and have your discernment on what you ought to do, Because that word binyah is understanding or it's discernment. So you can recognize and you can know. I know what to do. After we read Hebrew 9, it's just a simple Romans 12. Y'all know what Romans 12 say, I will wager. 9 and 15. Hebrews 9 and 15. Again, I tell you, man, the same thing. It comes back to the same thing, and that's offering yourself. But then recognizing right wrong. Like Yahusha recognized what Satan was offering was wrong. Because it was wrong towards the promise that was made to him. You got a promise made to you. You got to take heed and hearken to the promise made to you. Huh? That what you like? Little piece of hut meatballs, huh? Little meatballs? I don't like meatballs. I don't like balls of meat. Go sit down, little boy. You know what make him stop whining? Watch this. Come here, Mark. I don't want that. I don't want that. Give him old school titty twister. He said he defiled it. Yeah, he been defiled. Little titty twister always get him right. That was used to do the little fat kids in school, ain't it? They used to do you like that. Come twist your titties. Yeah, they used to come twist your titties. It's okay, man. We know. We understand. You don't want to tell nobody. Hebrews 9 and 15. Understandable. Understandable. And for this cause, he is the mediator of the new son. Thank you. And for this cause, he's the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called right receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of the testator. For the testament is of force after men are dead. Otherwise it is of no strength at all while the testator live. Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood. For when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to Torah, he took the blood of calves and of goats, and with water and scarlet wool and hyssop, and sprinkled both the book and all the people, saying, this is the blood of the testament which Elohim have adjoined unto you. So if you're going to know the times, remember what the Mashiach said, right? We mentioned this last week. He said, you hypocrites, right? You can't discern the sign of the time. Because the discerner of the times was discerning that this man was coming to offer himself. So you want to know the covenant. If you want to know the covenant and know the mark, then you have to know the sacrifice. And like we mentioned, it's suffered in your flesh. It's becoming a servant. It's becoming obedient even unto death. This is how you make your light shine. This is how you're able to know. I told y'all tonight, right? Wednesday, man, I made mention of that, right? Think of yourself as a woman. Literally, because you are a woman. He said, I liken the daughter of Zion to a delicate, comely woman. Do you know what I'm saying? And he your husband. Like Paul said, I've espoused you to one husband, even a Mashiach. And it's supposed to be qualities that's encapsulated in this man that you say you desire. You say you desire a man who has mercy and compassion and understanding and wisdom and the knowledge of Elohim and faith and the love of Elohim and the joy of Elohim and the self-control and the meekness. And then you choose something opposite of that. You choose ball. Do you know what I'm saying? You choose Dagon. Because you didn't really hold those qualities in high regard. That's why I tell you, when you turn around and you look at the world, because I know I just looked up and found out what this acronym stood for. I've been seeing it for a minute. MGTOW. You ever seen that before? Any of y'all on here ever seen that MGTOW? Any of y'all familiar with that? It stands for men going their own way. Stop. Now you know better than that. And you looked me dead in my face and you know you were wrong. I seen it in your eyes. So, and what I think is basis about is dude saying, basically be a masculine man, stop simping for women, stop letting women define what masculinity is. With that part, I don't really have a disagreement with that, because a woman should not define what masculinity is. Usually a woman defines masculinity based on her concept of what she wants necessarily than what it is to be a man. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a pretty difficult thing for her to ascertain, to tell a man what it is to be a man. You're usually going to slant that according to what you want to be. The word tell us what a godly man, which is in reality a masculine man, should be. And when people manifest those qualities and they see that, they don't want it. They don't want that because usually those qualities are going to interfere with their own will. This is why, again, that's why I mentioned, that's why these people rejected Yahusha. He exhibited all these qualities and they said they wanted a murderer. That's who they wanted. They wanted a murderer. When they had a king, they wanted Saul. When they had Yahuwah, they wanted a golden calf. So then we have to look at ourselves and say, do we really want faith? Do we really deem faith as a great quality in an individual? Do we really deem patience and endurance and perseverance as a great quality in an individual? Do we really deem mercy and compassion and wisdom and understanding as a great quality? Or do we want the things that we want and then try to transfer the things that we say we want onto what it is that we want? Because that's what we did with that golden calf. That's what we did with that golden calf. That's what people going to do with the beast. He going to look like y'all. He going to talk like y'all. But he ain't moving like y'all. And you going to be like, you know what? It's close enough. That's not, oh no, that's not good. That's not good. That's something I want you to sit back and consider. Because the reason what the brothers are talking about is, you, like I told y'all today, you got dudes don't want to get married no more. Because they feel like getting married is not beneficial for a man. They feel like it's more beneficial for a woman. Because they feel like the man has to do more and give more to the woman, and then the woman can take everything that he built and leave him with nothing. You know what I'm saying? This is the aspect of how a lot of dudes are thinking. Word or no word. That's how a lot of dudes are thinking. And a lot of women don't realize that. That's not saying that it's right. But that's how dudes is thinking. They feel like dealing with a woman or amending themselves to what a woman desire is not beneficial to them. So they no longer have a desire to do so. This is another element of showing you how the love of many will wax cold, so iniquity will abound. That love of many waxing cold to Yah, not to each other. Because people don't love Yah, so they're not going to follow that standard that he set. So we no longer looking for the qualities that he ordained, that this is a godly man, this is a virtuous woman. We don't want that anymore. I want what I want and what I deem to be correct. I don't care. Because like I say, a godly man going to hold the standard. So therefore, he's going to hold his woman to that standard. Could you imagine how some of these women would react in these days and times? Even if you're a woman, just sit back and think on it. You see everything falling apart like Job's wife did, and she said, curse Elohim and die. And he look at her and tell her, you talking like how them foolish women talking. If you're a godly woman, you're going to take that rebuke and say, you know what, you're right, he was tripping. If you're a carnal woman, you're going to go off on him. And you wrong. And you wrong. And you're going to feel like something wrong with him because he holding on to his God, and it look like his God is just forsaking him and destroying everything he got. And you feel like this nigga here is stupid. Because the only thing for this woman to say curse God and die is all she looking at is so I can go on and go do what I want to do and get what I want to get. Because clearly I ain't going to get it from over here fooling with you. That's carnal-minded thing. That's why you say you talking like a foolish woman. You're thinking like a carnal woman, a simple woman. That's how we looked at Yahusha when he was going through what he was going through. He need to curse Yah and die. Huh? If you be the son of Elohim, tell him come call on your God. Tell him get you off this tree. You saved others. How about you save yourself? Ugly thing. That's an ugly thing, ain't it? Romans chapter 12. You got to have an understanding of the time. I'm just telling you something for some perspective, because you're supposed to be able to. I know I mentioned that John 17. I'm going to get it in a second. How you say you are Yah and you can't recognize Yah? How you say you were, I told you before, right? We mentioned this Wednesday. I'm going to reiterate it. He said he came into his own and his own received him not. And Daniel, he told you Hamashiach would come to the people and that he would die not for himself. And I'm telling you, I know this for a fact because I read it in his book. So I know it manifests itself in small and large scales in life. Every single solitary day. Y'all send people to people for whatever reason he send them to, and you niggas don't want them. You know what I'm saying? That he said, you know what? You going to that you go to that one over there. And nigga don't want. Just sit back and think how that African woman, that Zidonian woman would have been. She know y'all told her Elijah coming over here for you, and you like, oh no, cuz, don't come over here. I don't want you over here. Think about that. That's how we act. Just even put it this way. The woman that recognized Elisha was a prophet. She didn't sit back and say, oh no, I don't want that nigga come around here. That's a godly man. She clearly, if he coming by here every day, y'all got him coming by here every day for a reason. I recognize it and see it. Come on over here. We don't even have that type of, you can't even recognize it. You can't even see it. Because you dumb. I know dudes be putting up them little memes all the time talking about, God send me a good man. He already done son it. And they be clowning. But for a lot of our people, shoot. Some women, you probably already had a godly man son till you turned it down.
Waiting for my Boaz.
Huh? We're not waiting for your Boaz. Now you got no ass. Boaz done went to got him another roof. It doesn't happen. All I'm sitting back looking at it is saying, and it's the token like this here, right? For lack of a better example. When Xerxes called for his wife and she ain't come, he said, don't even worry about it. I get you another. You know what I'm saying? And that's what ends up happening. When y'all called for you, he said, I called and you didn't answer and I spake and you didn't hear. You wanted to do evil before my eyes. He said, I go ahead and give you what you like. I give you your delusion. You know what I'm saying? You said you wanted a savior. You said you wanted a redeemer. I sent you my son. You know what I'm talking about? You said you didn't want him. I ain't sending you nobody else. Or whatever I'm going to send you is going to be 1,000 times worse than what you had before. Because when I sent you a man right in your face and showed you everything you said you wanted a man, you said, give me Barabbas. You said, give me the sinner. How does that work? Because you didn't have understanding of the times. Don't sit back and think that's just a conversation about a man getting an old lady or a woman getting a husband. It's bigger than that. You have to be carnal to think that's what all that's about. That's about you having your Elohim right in your face and you said, no, give me a man. You got justice and judgment and equity and righteousness and mercy and kindness and compassion, kadeshness, self-control, love and faith right in your face. And you said, give me flesh. That ain't good. That ain't good at all. Romans 12:1. He said, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim, that you present your bodies as a living sacrifice, kadesh and acceptable unto Elohim, which is your reasonable service. Be not transformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohim. For I say through Khan given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly according as Elohim have dealt to every man the measure of faith. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we being many are one body in Hamashiach, and every one members one of another. So you don't need to be conformed, but you need to prove what is that acceptable, good, and perfect will of Elohim. I know it just came to my mind, right? I mentioned that when we were looking at Abraham, about him being faithful. And I didn't read that John 8, where he said, if you be the seed of Abraham, then you would do the works of Abraham. So if we was to go back and look at the works of Abraham, let's go look at some of the works of Abraham. Because again, we talking about being separated at work, or the works of the Son that bring continual life, or seeing how a man did some work which produced the sacrifice, which allowed you to know the times, which caused you to experience the covenant. Let's look at what allowed Abraham to experience the covenant. Because it's always good to look in the law. Law ain't never hurt nobody unless you were contrary to it, which means it hurt everybody. So guess what? He sent a man to work out the law so it wouldn't hurt you no more. So praise y'all for that. Genesis 12:1. Genesis 12:1. Now Yahuwah said unto Abram, get thee out of the country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house and unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will baruch thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee, and in thee shall all the families of the earth be baruch. So Abraham departed as Yahuwah had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abraham was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. So the first work you see this man work is a work of faith, because he got up and he obeyed. He heard us. This man ain't know nothing about Yahuwah, nothing. He said, man, get up and dip. You've been here your whole life. Get up and dip. And guess what he did? He left. He believed him. He told the man, just go over here to this part over here, man. I'm going to bless you. Go to a land where I'll show you. I don't even know where I'm going. I don't even know where I'm going. He said, but I'm going to go, though. And he removed this and got on from around there. Went on a couple places. Let's sit back and look at. We ain't gonna look at when he went to war. We say that's another conversation when he went to war. But come over here to let's look at the works of Abraham right here, right? Genesis 14. We pick it up at verse 17. Let's look at another word. Let's look at another word. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Kedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him, and of the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was a priest of the Most High Elohim. And he baruched him and said, Baruch be Abram of the Most High Elohim, possessor of Shamahim and Aras. And Baruch be the Most High Elohim, which delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and he gave him tithes of all. Now, it's not the fact that he tithed. It was the fact that I got a blessing from Yah, so I'm gonna requite him back for the kindness that he requited me. Ain't even about the tithe. See, nigga hear tithe and be like, that nigga trying to get some money up out of us. You supposed to be looking at, didn't he say if you was of Abraham, see you do the works of Abraham? What Abraham understood was this. My ability to defeat these people and took their goods came from my God. This man who just told me to leave from amongst my household and my kindred and go to a place that I don't even know where I'm going. But look at, it's another thing in here that we want, right? And the king of Sodom said unto Abraham, give me the persons and take the goods to thyself. Abraham said to the king of Sodom, if I have lifted up my hand unto Yahuwah the Most High Elohim, the possessor of Shamahim and Aras, that I will not take from thee a thread, even to a shoe latchet, that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou should say, I made Abram rich, save only that which the young man have eaten in the portion of the men which went with me, Anar, Eshau, Mamre, let them take their portion. Oh, no, little buddy, now he done showed some wisdom. He said, no, sir. And equity and justice and judgment. Look here, brother, I ain't take nothing from you because you wouldn't dare. He said, I swore to y'all I won't take nothing from you, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give you what we took. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to recover you for what you lost. Because, boy, you're not going to turn around and say you made me rich. No, sir, not tonight, not today, not ever. That's the works of Abraham right there, because that was wisdom right there. See, you know what the most niggas would have did? Shoot, I ain't paying that nigga nothing back. Boy, I'm Abraham. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, yeah, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that. But guess what you're going to get this person a chance to do? Run their mouth. I made Abram rich. You'll never be able to say it. Only person who could ever be able to say that made Abram rich was one man and one man alone. You know who that is. That's Yahuwah. Let it stay like that. Genesis chapter 15. Let's look at the last and most important work of them all. 15:1. Well, we could hit another one. I think I will. After these things, the word of Yahuwah came unto Abram in a vision, saying, fear not, Abram. I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. Abram said, Yahuwah Elohim, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eleazar of Damascus? Abram said, behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of Yahuwah came unto him, saying, this shall not be thine heir, but he shall come forth out of thy own bowels, and shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad, and said, look now toward Shamahim, tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. He said unto him, so shall thy seed be. And he believed in Yahuwah, and he counted to him for righteousness. So when we look at Abram, we see faith, we see wisdom, we see judgment. These are things that we... Let's look at one more. Let's look at another little bit of, also see understanding. Let's look at a little bit more wisdom from Abraham and also humility. Genesis 21, little humility. Genesis 21:9. Just a little humility. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had born unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. And the very thing was grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And Elohim said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad and because of thy bondwoman, and all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called. And also the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, took bread, bottle of water, gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, and the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. So what you see right there, you see him showing humility enough to hearken to the wisdom of his wife. Because his wife told him straight up and down, oh, she ain't going to be no heir with my son. That's the wisdom of Elohim that's coming out of her mouth, because Yah just came back and confirmed that right after that. Oh, he ain't finna inherit nothing with my son. You need to put that nigga out. And his mama. They need to go. It said he was grievous in his sight. But when he showed this, he showed a man of humility to hearken unto the wisdom of it, because he had to show wisdom to sit back and be humble enough to say, my wife right now. He wasn't mad at Sarah. He just didn't want to get rid of the boy. He said, that boy got to go.
You said that's judgment.
And judgment too. It's all that.
Even though that was his son, that nigga got called mocking.
Mocking, you got to go. Wheat and tail, to a certain extent, DC. Yeah, he got to go. He got to go.
Because he could have went off his flesh
And not even did it. He could have went with what was grievous and say, no, she gonna stay.
Even though that nigga was wrong.
Even though he's wrong. You got, no. Say, you know what? Listen to your wife. Notice that y'all didn't say, listen to me. He said, listen to your wife. You know what I'm talking about? And reiterated what he had already promised him, because that's what his wife told him. See, that's so something right there, right? One, he got to have enough wisdom and skill set to know I got a wise woman. A woman of godly wisdom. See, most niggas wouldn't know a woman with godly wisdom if they saw her. Because nigga carnal. You know what I'm saying? They come to the point you dealing with the word. See, most of y'all were young, so you picked your mates before you had a real strong essence of the word. And that's cool. That's not really that big of a deal. But if you're not married and you have a sense of the word, then you should be looking for attributes of Yah and not no physical appearance first. You know what I'm saying? Not to say there ain't nothing wrong, because you gotta be attracted to what you're attracted to. Because if you ain't attracted to somebody, that marriage ain't gonna work after a while. You know what I'm saying? Because you be like, this nigga ugly. She ugly. You know what I'm saying? She don't do it for me.
But she wise and wisdom.
Yeah, it do. So some people, that might do it for them. Wisdom do make it shine. For some people, I mean, the things that people deem fit to be attractive, but if you ain't physically attracted to somebody, that's ugly. Now, of course, you know, back in the days, it didn't matter. You know what I'm talking about? You gonna like it. You know what I'm saying? What it needs to say, woman, get beneath me, and that's what you were gonna do. You know what I'm saying? That's what they said that Adam said to Lilith when she balked. When they tell that story, y'all, I don't know if y'all familiar with that. You ain't never heard that before? That's why they say Lilith got kicked out the garden, because Adam said, woman, get beneath me, and she balked.
She ain't saddle up for him.
She ain't saddle up for him. You got niggas who really believe Adam had another wife named Lilith. Niggas believe a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless. But of course, you know, you like what you like. You know what I'm saying? But if what you like don't possess the qualities that you say you want, then you might need to start reassessing what you like. You know what I'm saying? I seen a brother a while back, he said, you know, I had a type. But it's when people say they have a type, it's usually a physical type, and it's usually not a personality type. Some people do have a personality type. But most people say, you know, I want a man that look like this, or a woman who's shaped like this, or whatever the case may be. Do you know what I'm saying? And you pick the wrong thing because you're picking with your eyes and not with your heart, not with your spirit, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? That's what Yashar'al, and I'm just using this to make an example. That's why Yashar'al always got in trouble. Because we pick what would look good to us. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, how the Philistines worship their gods look good. You know what I'm saying? Shoot, look how Moab them moving. Edom them doing like this here. Because we have to use a natural example so you can see how spiritually inept our people were. Because they were making choices of the God that they were going to serve in the same fashion that we make choices of the people that we want to join ourselves to. Do you know what I'm saying? And I ain't talking about before you got wisdom. We talking about after you get it. You know what I'm saying? Because after you got it, you shouldn't have made decisions like you made before you had it. You shouldn't be choosing, like I've seen this in my whole entire life. People choosing the same person with a different face. But you choose, then you got to look at yourself and what is it about you that you keep attracting these type of people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, my homegirl, I used to be like, boy, you attract some of the lamest niggas I've ever seen. Do you know what I'm saying? What is it about that you keep doing that? Because I don't understand it. Because you not lame. You know what I'm saying? But yet this was what you attracted. So then it's got to be something in you, which is admit, or some women I know that they attract niggas who beat them, who are mentally, emotionally, and physically abusive to them. Or I know women who attract men who cheat on them repeatedly, and this happens to them. So it's got to be something inside of you. Or you got dudes that pick women who cheat on them or don't respect them or whatever the case may be. And then it's all going back to what is it about you that you need to get right in you to cause that from happening. Because there's something going on with you. That's why you attracting that towards you. You have to look at that. And it's all come down to, if we want to be made perfect and we want to have the shalom that comes from that, then it comes down to, you got to let this man heal all your diseases. And we have diseases in our minds and in our hearts and in our spirits of which we don't care to acknowledge because they will force you to have to look at yourself in a fashion that you may just not want to do. But it's going to be beneficial for your soul. I would implore you to do so. Nevertheless, back to Chronicles. I done told y'all before, you ain't got to talk to me, but you need to talk to somebody. You need to get that junk right. I don't care how I get done, just get it done. It's your soul, it's your life, man. It's your life. This ain't no, yeah, it's your life, man. Nevertheless, where we at, man? Verse 34. And Naphtali, 1,000 captains with him with a shield, spear, 30 and 7,000. And the Danite expert in war, 20 and 8,600. And Asher, such as went forth to battle, expert in war, 40,000. On the side of Jordan of the Reubenites and the Gadites and half the tribe of Manasseh with all manner of instruments of war for battle, and 120,000. All these men of war that could keep rank came with a perfect heart to Hebron to make David king over all Yashar'al. All the rest also of Yashar'al were of one heart to make David king. And they were with David 3 days, eating and drinking, for their brethren had prepared for them. Moreover, they that were nigh them, even unto Issachar and Zebulun and Naphtali, brought bread on asses and on camels and on mules and on oxen, meat, meal, cakes of figs, bunches of raisins and wine, oil and oxen, sheep abundantly, for there was joy in Yashar'al. So when we look at perfect heart, perfect is Shalem. You know, we got Shan, Lamad, and the Mean. That's what we got right there. And what does that come to sit back and that tells us about? It tells us how we were paired to the teaching of water, or we paired to the teaching of the Ruach HaKadosh. You're joined to this teaching if you got this perfect heart. And when you join to this teaching, it's to make Yahushua your king. So, and then we'll get to the prepared part and the joy. So let's look at something, right? John 6 and 44. And then we'll look at the other parts of discernment, man. Why was there joy in Yashar'al when they made this man king? Because it's telling you what is coming. They bringing whole meals. Say your brethren had done prepared this for you. See, we'll sit back and look at it. Stuff already been prepared for you. I already read one of them verses already.
I like what it said, made ready.
Yeah, this made ready against the day. I know what it says. Made ready against the day. Gotta make ready against the day. You know what I'm talking about?
Make it feel good.
That's how I gotta be. 6 and 41, man. That's how I gotta be. See, I was gonna lead the son, right? And the reason like this here, right? Shoot. I remember I had a conversation with somebody a long time ago, and I was basically telling them like what was in Mark. We say, well, Elohim have ordained, let no man split asunder. And they were like, y'all put people together? Absolutely. Absolutely he do. He put righteous people together. He put wicked people together. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely he do. Absolutely he do. For his cause and his purpose and his will. Some people resist it. You know what I'm talking about? Some people don't. Everything happened to his will. So we'll hear direct like this here. You wonder why? Why I got that wicked nigga? Because you is. You know what I'm talking about? That's why you got that wicked nigga. I thought I was righteous. Clearly you ain't. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about if you're dealing with the word. I ain't talking about beforehand. Beforehand, both of y'all was stupid. So it's okay. You get a pass. You ain't even knowing maybe he brought you together to be stupid so you could serve y'all together and be perfect. We don't look at none of that stuff because you're always looking stuff from your perspective and your vantage point. You can sit back and look at this man could have had you with a wicked person and separated you from that wicked person to lead you to a righteous person where you were supposed to be at the whole time, because that was his plan from the jump street. Because just like what it was with Yashar'al, they wouldn't have recognized y'all yesterday was with Egypt first. Do you know what I'm talking about? You wouldn't even been able to recognize the goodness and mercy in Elohim till you sat back and you was oppressed with a dummy first. Right or wrong? Ain't that what he did every time? You wouldn't even know. So that when he came and you see the contrast between him and Pharaoh, then you would know I'll link myself to him forever. But guess what? Most niggas just like your forefathers, though. Murmuring and complaining and bucking in the wilderness because you don't want to come under his yoke. All the man want to do is love you, have compassion on you, and guide you and lead you in the way of righteousness. And you say, that ain't what I want. Let me go back to Pharaoh and be abused. Let me go back to the devil. That's how we move. And I'm only mentioning this because, and I know all people do it, but I'm just telling you what I've noticed. I got to say from, I ain't going to say extra young, but that's what I've noticed in my time living. That's how black people move. I can't speak on how all white people move. That's not my community. That's not who I'm around. I'm around black people. I notice black people do this. You got something bad. They take you from the bad, present you with something good. You reject the good to go back to the bad. And then complain about why you in the bad. Don't make sense. You complain about Pharaoh. Y'all came and got you. You complain about y'all and how you want to go back to Pharaoh. How? How? How does that happen? Now, we come out the world. Most of y'all been out here hanging and swinging, selling drugs, smoking this, smoking that, and telling lies and blasphemies and idolatries. He bring you out of that, show you mercy and compassion by the blood and sacrifice of his son, and you turn around and say, man, I can't do nothing on the Sabbath. Man, I can't do that. Nigga, what? You could be going to hell and be happy about it. Look at all the people who out tonight moving around in these streets. They going to hell and they happy about it. Y'all willingly open somebody's eyes of these people who out here floating, living how they want to live, that they might come to repentance. But these people out here living how they want to live and happy about it. They happy about walking the pathway of damnation and degradation. They happy about it. They enjoying every minute. We clown about it. This man made a song about, I'm living my best life. Living my best life is code word for I'm doing what I want to do, how I want to do it, when I want to do it, and I ain't going to argue with you niggas about me doing it. Nigga happy about it. You think they going to be happy in the judgment line? You think they going to be singing that song then? And you've been brought out of that. He severed you from amongst the people that you could be his. And you complaining like your ancestors did with Pharaoh. This man beats me. He oppresses me. He abuses me. Well, here, I'll take you from that man, give you a man who's going to love you and give you wisdom and understanding and knowledge. He's going to care for you. He's going to be compassionate. He's going to be kind. He's going to be merciful. He's going to have an understanding and wise heart to be able to help you in anything that you suffer. He's going to serve you and all. And you say, oh, that nigga brought us out here in this wilderness to die. It was better for us to go back with Pharaoh. We had cucumber leeks and melons. Do you remember the fish that we ate to the full? Nigga, what? John 6:41. Then the Yahudim then murmured at him because he said, I am the bread which came down from Shamahim. And they said, is not this Yahusha the son of Yosaph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he saith, I come down from Shamahim? Yahusha therefore answered and said unto them, murmur not among yourselves. No man can come unto me except Abba which hath sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets, and they shall all be taught of Elohim. Every man therefore that have heard and have learned of Abba, come unto me. Not that any man have seen Abba, save he which is of Elohim. He have seen Abba. Truly, truly, I say unto you, he that believe on me have everlasting life. So, you want a perfect heart, you have to be joined to that teaching. And that's the teaching of the Ruach. And the teaching of the Ruach is different than the teaching of the law. That's a totally different teaching. Same teaching, but a different teaching. Because that's the teaching of faith. This is the conversation. It's like this here, right? John 7:37. We had a conversation with a gentleman, right? They were playing some. Matter of fact, let me show you the games these niggas tried to play. Let me show you a game the nigga tried to play. This is how nigga tried to play me. Come over here to Act 7. Nigga try to play me like this here, man. See, I hate when a nigga try to play you like you don't know the word. And you have to sit back and you got to sit back and let them think they playing. Because that's what nigga like to do. Act 7, right? Verse 46. Act 7, 46. He said, who found favor before Elohim and desired to find a tabernacle for the Elohim of Jacob? But Solomon built him a house. Howbeit the Most High dwell not in temples made with hands, as saith the prophet. Shamahim is my throne, and the rats is my footstool. What house will you build me, saith Yahuwah, or what is the place of my rest? Have not my hand made all these things? Ye stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, you do always resist the Ruach HaKodesh, as your Abbas did, so do ye. So, nigga say this how you get the Holy Ghost. This is what the nigga told me, right? He say you resist. Let me show you something. Isaiah 64. He say you resist. What he telling me is you resist the word. You resist the spirit of Elohim. After we read Isaiah 64, 2 Peter chapter 1. Make sure I got the right spot, what I want, what I need. It might be 63. Yeah, that's Isaiah 63. Isaiah 63, verse 7. Isaiah 63 and 7. Let's look at see what he talking about. I told the brother what it was talking about. And if you read the whole chapter, what Stephen is speaking, Stephen is running down the history of Yashar'al. Once he switched from that, I didn't read the verse before, he was talking about David, because y'all should know your history, that David was the one who wanted to build a house, and he told him Solomon would do it. And to David and Solomon. So I take that back. He just didn't use that exact wording that's in the book of Isaiah, but he did tell them that. Matter of fact, in Solomon's prayer, he even said, mention the loving kindness of Yahuwah and the praises of Yahuwah according to all that you have bestowed on us. And the great goodness towards the house of Yashar'al, which he bestowed on them according to his mercies and according to the multitude of his loving kindness. For he said, surely they are my people, children that will not lie. So he was their savior. In their affliction, he was afflicted. Listen, and the Malachim of his presence saved them. In his love and in his pity, he redeemed them, and he bare them, and he carried them all the days of old. Listen what he tell you. But they rebelled and vexed his Ruach HaKodesh, or Holy Spirit. Therefore, he was turned to be their enemy, and he fought against them. So let's look at Psalm 78. He say they rebelled against his Holy Spirit. So this ain't talking, because I asked the brother, I say, brother, how you get this Holy Spirit? I said, Ruach HaKodesh, he tried to be a douchebag about it. And that's what he read. And he skipped the verse. 63 and 10. Psalm 78 and 37. Make it Psalms 38 and 35. 78 and 35, I'm sorry. This is what I tell you, right? Make it 31. Matter of fact, I got to make it 27. He rained flesh also upon them as dust and feathered fowls like the sand of the sea. And he let it fall in the midst of their camp round about their habitations. So they did eat and were filled, for he gave them their own desire. And they were not estranged from their lust, but while their meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of Elohim came upon them and slew the fattest of them and smote down the chosen men of Yashar'al. See, this again is going with discernment. See, if they would have had a discernment, they wouldn't have done that. And this again is another thing we were talking about last week. We talked about, the things that make you happy. And see, they had a desire because they wanted that flesh, because they felt like that flesh was going to make them happy. So he said he gave them what their own desire because they were not separated from the lust. That's why he said he that is in the flesh cannot please Elohim, because you got to be born again. When you born again, you no longer a debtor to live unto the flesh, but to live unto the Ruach. When you are not separated from your lust, then y'all going to give you your lust and he going to kill you in them. That go back to what we were talking about. You was with Pharaoh. You was with an abusive, oppressive, wicked man. I take you from that wicked man, and I give you a good man, a just man, a righteous man before your eyesight. And you buck him because you want to go back to what you had before or what you like. Because that's what they were complaining about, that fish folk, for them quails folk. Because if you go back and read Numbers 11, they were talking about, remember the flesh we used to eat, and we had cucumbers, leeks, and melons? Read that on your own time, because that's what that's telling you about. That's the story. That's being enumerated here. That's the story. They wanted their lust. They hadn't separated themselves from it. They hadn't learned to live by Elohim and follow Elohim and trust Elohim and take the things that come from his hand. They wanted the things that came from their heart, and it killed them. Verse 32, for all this they sinned still and believed not his wondrous works. Therefore their days did he consume in vanity and their years in trouble. And when he slew them, then they sought him. And they returned and inquired early after Elohim. And they remembered that Elohim was their rock and the high Elohim their redeemer. Nevertheless, they did flatter him with their mouth, and they lied unto him with their tongues. For their heart was not right with him. See, their heart wasn't shalem. It wasn't perfect. So they hadn't paired themselves to the teaching of the Ruach. Their hearts wasn't perfect. You got to make your heart perfect. You don't want a double heart. You don't want a heart that is devoid. You don't want to be devoid of having the teaching of the Son, the teaching of the house. You don't want to be devoid of that. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquity and destroyed them not. Yea, many a time he turned his anger away and did not stir up all his wrath. For he remembered that they were but flesh and wind that pass away and come not again. How oft did they provoke him in the wilderness and grieve him in the desert? Yea, they turned back and tempted Elohim and limited the Kadesh one of Yashar'al. They remembered not his hand nor the day when he delivered them from the enemy. That's the thing that we do, is that we limit him. We limit him. You limit him. See, they couldn't discern. They didn't know right from wrong, but yet they continually provoked him and vexed him. Come over here to Exodus 23, one more spot in the law, man. I'll show you what I mean. Now, of course, in the course of our conversation, I mentioned this particular passage to the brother. I mentioned it to him. He didn't want to catch it. Now, of course, you know, I ain't with all that debating with a nigga about no word. You know what I'm saying? 23 and 20. You know what I'm talking about? Exodus. But one thing for certain, I know the word. And I don't know the word for the purpose of debating or cutting somebody with the word. I know the word for the purpose of my salvation first, and to be able to impart that word that others may save themselves and have an understanding of the way, power, mercy, kindness, and wrath of the living Elohim. Because you got to know both. You got to know the justice, the severity, and the justice of Yah. You just can't walk around on one end of the spectrum. He say, behold, I send the Malachim before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice and provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. But if thou indeed obey his voice and do all that I will speak, then I will be enemy unto thy enemies and adversary unto thy adversaries. So come on back to Acts chapter 7. So remember, he told you that he made his Malachim spirits of a flaming fire. So when you look at that, because you have brothers who be like, oh, the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Ghost is the word, or this, that, there, and the third, and they take that stuff out of context. I mentioned 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 17. Let's get that. Let's not forsake that. Let's get that to drive the point home of what we're dealing with. Oh, I do got it. Praise the Lamb. Praise the Lamb. Make it verse 16. 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 16. For we have not followed cunningly devised fables when we made known unto you the power and coming of our master Yahushua HaMashiach, but were eyewitnesses of his majesty. For he received from Elohim Abba honor and esteem when there such a voice came such a voice to him from excellent esteem. This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. And this voice which came from Shamahim we heard when we were with him in the Kadesh Mount. We have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto you do well that you take heed, as a light that shine in a dark place until the day dawn and the day star rise in your hearts. Knowing this first, that no prophecy of the scriptures of any private interpretation, for the prophecy came not in the old time by the will of man, but as Kadesh men of Elohim spake, as they were moved by the Ruach HaKodesh. Now, why is that important when we come back to Acts chapter 7? He said these men spoke as they were moved by the Ruach. And that Acts chapter 7, verse 51, he said that they resist the Ruach HaKodesh. And look what he said in verse 52. Which of the prophets have your fathers not persecuted? And they have slain them which showed before of the coming of the just one, of whom you be now the betrayers and murderers. See, when we were talking to that gentleman, he read verse 51, skipped verse 52, and went straight to verse 53, who have received the Torah by dispensation of Malachim and have not kept it. So he didn't realize in his essence of trying to say that the Ruach is the law, that it was the angels who gave you said law. The angels dispensed it to Moses. Moses dispensed it to you. Come over here to John 7:37. But notice, because the key thing is not that it said that they killed the prophets. The key thing is that he said that they were showing the coming of the just one, and you betrayed him for a murderer. Because they were showing you the love and compassion and power of Elohim, and you chose a sinner. You chose what you were comfortable with. You chose what you knew. You weren't estranged from your desires. John 7:37. I hope you don't pee in the bed. It's a lot of fluid you're taking in. You're drinking it kind of fast. I don't think you're drinking nothing now. I think you're just holding the cup over your face. What's in that cup? In that last day, that great day of the feast, Yahushua stood and cried, saying, If any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believe on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. But this spake he of the Ruach, which they that believe on him should receive, for the Ruach HaKodesh was not yet given, because that Yahushua was not yet esteemed. Many of the people, therefore, when they heard this saying, said, Of a truth, this is the prophet. At this particular time, these people discerned and said, This the one. It got to be. It got to be. He got to be the one. Let's look at something in Job, right? Excuse me. We talked about in the car the other day a little bit. Let's look at Job, right? What did I get, Job? Job 24. I think I got Job 21. Let me look and see. A little bit. Job 24. Oh man. Job 24. We'll pick it up at about verse 7. Job 24 and 7. Again, this is Nakar, the noon, Kaf, and Rosh. You know what I'm saying? You sit back and look at, that's the recognize, know, and acknowledge. And we see that how the work of continual life bring you to the head, or the head's work of continual life. However you want to do it is what's going to cause you to be able to know and to recognize. They cause the naked to lodge without clothing. They have no covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains and embrace the rock for the want of shelter. They pluck the fatherless from the breast and take a pledge of the poor. They cause him to go naked without clothing, and they take away the sheave from the hungry, which make oil within their walls and tread their wine presses and suffer thirst. Men groan from out of the city, and the soul of the wounded cry out. Yet Elohim lay not folly to them. If you remember, we done dealt with this times past. That verse 12 is Yahushua groaning on the stage. He was wounded, he cried out, and Yah didn't lay no sin to his charge. They are those that rebel against the light. They know not the ways thereof, nor abide in the path thereof. So what are we looking at, right? We should be able to know and recognize. If somebody's naked without clothing, just like what we read in Matthew 25, they don't give them no clothes. Say when they wet with showers, they embrace the rock for want of shelter. Just like you said, they would need somewhere to stay, and they didn't take them in. Say you taking the fathers from the breast, and you taking a pledge, or you taking money from the poor, you ain't paying it back. Say they cause the naked to go home without clothing, and they take away the sheave from the home. So you see somebody that's lacking with food, you take it from them. Say you make oil within your walls and tread the wine press and suffer thirst. So he said these people who do this, they rebel, or what I mentioned beforehand. You won't come to the light, lest your deeds should be reproved. Look at verse 14. The murderer rising with the light killed the poor and needy, and in the night is as a thief. This is Judas. But we're not dealing with that right now. The eye also of the adulterer wait for the twilight, saying, no man shall see me, and disguise his face. In the dark they dig through houses, which they mark for themselves in the daytime. They know not the light. For the morning is to them even as the shadow of death. If one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. So what do we sit back and look at? We should be able to have, and the word Nakar is used in verse 15 and 17. We should be able to know and recognize. That's why I say, right, do not have fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness. Do not be partakers with them. Because you should be able to recognize where godliness does not exist. Because you do not see the work of the highest leading to continual life. You don't see that in that behavior. We're supposed to have some level of discernment to know. Come on over here because we got to hit another word for discernment. I mentioned it, Malachi chapter 3. See, if you want to know what's of Yah and what's not of Yah, then of course you need to know the word. And you need to be doing the word. And when you know the word, I've been looking for when we was under the open of Pharaoh, this man got it. I trust him with my whole mind, heart, and soul. That's the difference. See, if we was to set our minds to say that the qualities of Yah is what we desire and strive, even like this here, right? Most of y'all, when you met whoever you married to, you may have possessed some of the qualities of Yah. One or both of y'all, possessed some. Some of the qualities of Yah had to be there, but they probably weren't. Clearly, they weren't there in totality. But the point get not stuck in on of what you didn't have when you were 20 or 22. It's what you got now and what you're working towards attaining. Okay, you didn't have the mind of Elohim then, but what are you doing about it now to possess it now? Because you can't be stuck on what you did. Only thing you can do is look in the past, is look at the mistakes that were made so you can correct them and be better from them. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Not to dwell on them and sit. Because if you have it in your mind that this is what you was at that time and that's all you're going to be, then that's all you ever going to be. And it ain't going to be nobody's fault but yours. Because you limited yourself. Don't limit yourself. Most people don't get the things they want out of life because they limit themselves. Most people don't get you hear most people walk around and say they want true love, and the most true love you can get come from Yahuwah. And don't you know if you get love from Yahuwah, then he'll give you that in the person of a man or a woman, because you limited yourself. You saying this is all I deserve, or this is all I should have, and that's all you're going to get. So if you think all you should get is carnal things, and that's all y'all going to give you. Because again, that go back to what we read in Psalms. You limiting this man. Why are you limiting this man? Is anything too hard for Yahuwah? This man can turn. He told you in the book of Samuel that he could take a poor man and set him amongst princes like this. Take a beggar and put him in a dung. You got to remember, man, David was a follower of sheepcoat. Man, David was a poor man. David ain't had no money. David didn't come from no money. You know what I'm saying? This man walking around following sheep, and he made him a king overnight. You know what I'm saying? What we call overnight is not at the snap of a finger, but over a process of time. And it wasn't as long as you think it was. 3 and 16, Malachi. Where's my word at? There go my word. There you go. They that feared Yahuwah spake often one to another. Yahuwah hearkened and heard it. And the book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared Yahuwah and thought upon his name. And they shall be mine, saith Yahuwah of hosts, in the day that when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them, as a man spares his own son that serve him. Then shall you return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serve Elohim and him that serve him not. So when you got discern here, you got Ra'ah, Rosh, Aleph, and Hay. So guess what? The thoughts of strength are going to be revealed. with that discernment, because that's what he said, you're going to discern between the righteous and the wicked, right? Those who don't serve Elohim and those who don't. So what does he mean that the strengths of thought will be revealed when you look at that? Because you got that ox there, you know, you got the little head there, and then you got that hay there, you know, you got a man stretched out arms. So let me see what those thoughts of strength would be revealed in. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. I'm going to work that in, and then I'm going to work it in a different way. Twofold. Because the power of your thoughts are going to be revealed by your service. Which take us back to what we were talking about last week, about the death and life and the power of the tongue. Whoso enjoy the fruit thereof, and all that good old stuff. Because your actions are going to reveal the power of your thoughts, where your thoughts at. It's going to reveal it. It's going to reveal it. 12 and 7. Unless I should be, 2 Corinthians 12 and 7, that is. Unless I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of revelations that were given to me, a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Hashatan to buffet me, lest I shall be exalted above measure. For this thing I besought the master thrice, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather esteem in my infirmities, that the power of Mashiach may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses, for Hamashiach's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So when he say he'd rather have to the power rest on him in his weaknesses or in his infirmities, this is Paul in this instance showing that we can be able to discern and see the thoughts of strength are revealed. Why is this here? I'm going to read the verse that I like to read to y'all quite regularly, Isaiah 26, verse 3. And that goes back to what we were talking about on Wednesday as well. Who taught Yahuwah the way of righteousness? And it tells you how the word tells you need to have his mind, his mind, his mind, his mind. Because there's strength and power in his mind. Because there's power in the name of Yahuwah. There's power in his word. Isaiah 26 and 3. He said, thou will keep him in perfect shalom, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusts in thee. Trust ye in Yahuwah forever, for trust in Yahuwah is everlasting strength. So now we begin to see how the thoughts of strength are revealed, because the thoughts of strength are going to be revealed, because he said, I'm going to make them my jewels. All those who thought upon my name and feared me. He said, I'm going to spare them, as a man spares his own son. He say, in this I'm going to return, and we're going to be able to know and recognize the righteous and the wicked. So it's the strengths of your thoughts that's going to be revealed. From the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. See, it's not what come in a man that defile him, but what come out. And remember, your thoughts, your intentions, your plans, your devices, the things that you do, it's going to show your strength. What is your strength? Well, let's sit back and see. Romans 6 and 16. It all come down to where you lend your mind to. It's all going to come down to it. She on the tape delay back there. That junk crazy. That junk be delayed. That ain't live. Live ain't supposed to be delayed.
No football games, don't be delayed.
Ain't no delay.
It's live to us. We feel like we right in the game.
It's live, baby. We live, baby.
Good minute behind.
6 and 15, Romans 6 and 15. What then shall we sin because we are not under Torah but under Khan? Elohim forbid. Know ye not that to whom you yield your servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom you obey, whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness. Remember, Mashiach say that whosoever commits sin is the servant of sin, and the servant abide not in the house forever. So the strength of your thoughts are going to be revealed, because your thoughts going to dictate what you do, and it's going to reveal. Remember what he said, the word of Elohim is sharper than a two-edged sword, dividing asunder to the joints and marrow, to the soul and spirit. And it shows the thoughts and intents of the heart. So when the word comes, it reveals the strength of your thoughts, or the might or the power of your thoughts. Basically, what you yield your mind to. Remember, I told y'all this last week. Man, I tell you this all the time, truth be told. That Proverbs 4, guard your heart. for the issues of life emanate from it. You got a decision to make. You know, books say that, right? Iron sharpen iron. And a man does it for the countenance of his friend. So you just sit back and look at it, right? You a man, it's your job to be an example of the word. And to be able to be a light, not only talking about to your household, but to anybody you come across. But to say you married, you got children. It's your job to be able to manifest and lead this household. Now, you a woman, and we as a people, we the woman, we Yashar'al. So we seeking to be followed and be led by justice and judgment, mercy, love, and faith, the weightier matters of the law. And you have to sit back and look at it and be able to recognize and see that. See, we live in a society now where you talk to a person has potential, so you take it upon yourself to try to craft and mold attributes in an individual because that's the direction that you want to go. And the reason why I use that scenario, because what did we do? We took a golden calf and said, what? This is Yahuwah, which brought us up out of Egypt. Or you esteem the creation greater than creator, meaning you're trying to make something that does not have the ability and power and wherewithal to do the things that you needed to do, but this is what you like, so you try to impart that on it and then wonder why it blow up in your face. Now, we do this not just in a scenario of between a man and a woman, but we do this in our decision making when it comes to serving Yahuwah. When it comes to serving the living Elohim, this is what we do. Let me make this scenario and situation how I desire it in order to get it, instead of just going with what you already had that was from him and sticking with that, and you can't lose. See, one thing you have to sit back and realize is you can't fill up a glass that got holes in it. The book tell you, he said, if Yah made it crooked, who can make it straight? See, if an individual doesn't be desired to be filled with the spirit of the living Elohim, you can't fill them. I don't care how much words you tell them. I don't care how much of an example you set. All you setting is that's they testimony for them to be damned. And why would you be damned? Why would you not just strive for righteousness in life? Why did our forefathers do this? Because they didn't have a desire for righteousness. Like I said, they're stiff-necked people. They weren't estranged from their desires. We have to learn that. We have to learn to crucify our affections and lusts, because we got to be able to discern between the righteous and the wicked. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what direction I would want to go. But you sit back and you look at it, right? He said, he that commits sin is of the devil. He that is born of Elohim sin not. He say, in this, we know the truth, because this is discernment. It's talking about the Malachi. At the same token, what the Apostle John wrote. He say, in this, we know the children of Elohim and the children of the devil. Whosoever love not his brother is not of Elohim. Don't be as Cain, who was of the wicked one, who slew his brother without cause, but was a murderer. He that hated his brother without cause is a murderer. So then when we look at this here, and we're supposed to be able to make a discernment, right? Righteous and the wicked. How am I righteous and I can go do A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Because now the strength of your thoughts has been revealed. I know what type of time you on. Does that mean that a person can't repent and come back? No, that's not what we're saying. But it reveals where your thoughts were. And if I'm sitting back looking at, if I'm an individual that's sitting back and I'm looking and I'm trying to assess who is the children of Elohim and who is not, I'm gonna take that into account. Because I have to take that into account. You have a propensity of unbelief. That element exists within you. I cannot deny that. Is that something that I want to join myself to? And the reason why I say that, because he said, shall we make the body of Hamashiach a harlot? Elohim forbid. Because he's not going to be unequally yoked. Now, you can sit back looking at it and say, we ain't just talking about dating nobody, marrying nobody. This could be who you choose to. The common saying in the world is you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. You become like the people who you talk to the most, who you around the most. You become like who you entertain and who you converse with. So if you conversing with stupid people, when I say stupid people, people that are devoid of rational, logical intelligence, what do you think you're going to become? If you sit around people who have no ambition in life, what you think you're going to become? If you sitting around talking to sinners every day, what you think you gonna become? You know what I'm saying? Now then take that a step further when you talking about, and which y'all willing, we'll deal with a little bit on tomorrow, because the topic that I want to choose ain't really for grown people. It's really for you to assess yourself for your churn. You know what I'm talking about? But what does that say if you sit back and look at your life partner is the person who you gonna spend the most time with? So why would you choose a dummy? Because guess what's gonna end up happening? I mean, your children gonna be dummies. You know what I'm saying? Your children gonna be dummies. And then guess what happens? This cycle that black people complain about that we in, it keep perpetuating. Now I seen a brother talking about something, and I believe it too. Because I seen some brothers down here in Jacksonville say they experienced the same thing. And I believe them too, because I don't put it past them white folk. You just keep seeing all them stories coming out about 60, 70 people getting shot in Chicago every day. I know niggas killed, but I know niggas ain't killing like that. But I know that's them crackers. Because they have it's history where they do that, where they go in neighborhoods and shoot people. You know what I'm saying? Or get niggas guns and pay niggas, like, go shoot them niggas over there. You know what I'm saying? This is known. Go look up COINTELPRO. They do stuff like this. You know about that type of stuff? You ain't know about that.
That sounds like some black ops.
They do. It is. They do that though.
I know what I'm saying. Black ops.
Yeah, they do that though. All jokes aside, not trying to be funny on no conspiracy theory type John. Them people do that. Cause look, we the last 3 weeks, you done heard the people say 60 people got shot in Chicago over 2-3 days. 70 people got shot. Them niggas wild, they ain't wild like that. Not like that. 200 niggas?
Or some major drugs involved.
Ain't that much drugs in the world. Dope game dead. Dope game dead.
I don't know what they might not be.
Nah, dope game dead,
It
boy.
might not be dope. Boy.
When I say dope game, I'm talking about all drugs. It's dead. It's dead. Dope game been dead. Ain't but a handful. And niggas ain't making no money out here, no selling no drugs no more. Not no real money. That's been gone. Boy, niggas selling drugs these days like almost like a nigga who work at McDonald's. Nigga might as well.
Yeah, how the gangs making money?
Gangs is involved in a whole lot of other things besides drugs.
I don't know. I ain't never been no gang.
Oh, no, they making money a whole, but they involved in a lot of stuff besides drugs. Niggas selling guns. Come on, man. It's been stories where niggas just walk up. They kind of showed it in clockers.
Nah,
And strap.
But they showed that video with that nigga in Chicago, boy.
Yeah, they just dropping crates of guns off.
No, on that camera, you ain't see that video where the nigga got shot outside the stoop on the camera and the bitch got shot in the face?
No.
Man, them niggas wildin'.
Yeah, they wild,
I ain't saying,
but at the same token, though, these people been caught leaving guns in our neighborhood and dipping. You know what I'm saying? They do stuff like this. The same way because they hoping you're going to pick these guns up, you're going to go around here, and you're going to act a fool. But it's the same way, the reason why this is right, if y'all pay attention, you go look, like certain protest marches they done had, like what that was, Occupy Wall Street and all that other type of stuff they had going on. The government was sending officers there to start stuff, to cause the people to riot and then slide out the way so they could come through and smash them. You know what I'm saying? See, they do stuff like this. So this is not far-fetched when I seen brother like, man, that's them cracker kids. That's not far. And I'm talking about not just niggas on the internet. It's people in Chicago like, hey, man, well, we not doing that. You know what I'm saying? Well, we not doing all that. That's the people. You know what I'm saying? I don't doubt it, especially when you talking about a nigga who's there. Because I seen a dude from Jacksonville say, yeah, man, them crackers stepped to me like, hey, boy, we'll give you such and such. You knock that nigga off. And then when you do this, they trying to spark a war between groups of people or what niggas get killed. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I'm mentioning this here is because our people complain about this type of stuff. And I just saying that because the crackers is the word I want to use is rabble rousing. They trying to start something up. You know what I'm talking about? But it also comes down to if you choose a better quality of person to procreate with and to breed with, then the likelihood of them participating in a lot of activities can go down. You know what I'm saying? Because you're responsible. I'm going to put it to you this way, right? Kids should be kids and they should have fun, right? And I'm going to reiterate this tomorrow. But your job is not for them to have fun. Your job is to prepare them for adulthood. That's your job. Your job is to prepare them for adulthood. If they can have a good time and have some fun in the midst of that, that's cool. But at the end of the day, if they had fun and they ain't prepared for adulthood, you failed as a parent. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't care how many parties you had, how many trips you took them on, how many outfits you bought them. If they not prepared for adulthood, you didn't do your job. You didn't do your job. Your job is to prepare them for adulthood. Our people are woefully underprepared. Then we supposed to be the servants of the living Elohim. You supposed to be preparing them to be able to venture out into a world where sin and degradation and condemnation run about, and that they will resist and hold fast to the word of Elohim. It run about out here on these streets, boy. You hear what I'm talking about?
It run about.
It run about. Who? We can step out in these streets right now, boy. I bet there's some half-naked hoes out here. These hoes coming outside in lingerie these days. Enticing. Come on, man. I seen dudes go tripping. They got 2 male cheerleaders. It's cheerleaders in college football all over the place. But you know, they had to pick the biggest, punkest niggas they could find to trot out there on that field. Yeah, they were 2 black men. Super faggot. Super faggots. Ain't get no white man. Got to get a homo. Got to get a black homo. He said, I've been choreographing all the time. I said, why not me? Do you know what I'm saying? This is the stuff that they got to combat with. We sit back, right? Niggas post that stuff, right? Is you teach, like I said, right? You teach your kids to go to college and come out in debt instead of teaching them, son, go get a trade and you got a hustle you can have for the rest of your life. And why you doing that? Because that's what Mr. Charlie told you to do. Because that's what Mr. Charlie told your mama them to do it. So you believe, I got to have the college experience. Nigga, bump all that. Give them both options. Son, this what happen when you go to college. Son, this what happen if you pick a trade. You can do whichever one you want to choose. But better believe, I ain't going in debt for you. Do you know what I'm talking about? I mean, you ain't got it. But for most people, they don't have the money to go to no 4-year university.
Scholarships off.
Some people ain't gonna get no scholarships.
So how much you apply to public school ain't hard.
I ain't say it was. At the same token, though, it's just the reality of the fact. The average person go to college, they end up in debt, in some form of debt. It's very few people skating through 4 years of college, they ain't pay a dime. Do you know what I'm talking about? Ain't pay a dime. It ain't that many. Or they had their people who could pay the tuition. But the average everyday person, they coming out of college with some manner of debt to get a job that they can't find. Do you know what I'm talking about? There was a time period when they taught everybody to get a trade. They didn't even steer people to go to college. You know what I'm saying? Now you steer to go to college. Oh, we are. I would hope that what the desire is, that the children be better than us. If the children ain't better than us, then why are we having children for? Photo ops? Come on, man. Our children messed up because the generation before them failed them. So the stopping of the failing of the children got to stop with us. We got to stop failing them. So that means you got to start preparing them. And that means you got to enhance and better yourself in order to properly prepare them. You know what I'm saying? That's what you got to do. You can't be stuck on, mama got to have a life too, Jody. You got to put that stuff out the way. They ain't grown. You have a life when you put them out the house. You want to get down and wiggle and tickle. So now it's time to sit down and do some work and prepare them to be solid men and women of y'all, period. You know what I'm saying? That's your duty. When you decided that you wanted to have sex and you said I was willing to take on the responsibility of molding and preparing another life to be an adult, a responsible, functional adult. Do you know what I'm saying? And you got to be willing to step up to that responsibility. The book tell you if a man don't take care of his own, nor his own household, then what has he done? He an infidel. He done denied the faith. You know what I'm saying? Providing for your household monetarily, but also as a man, you commanded in our law to teach your household about Yah. You're supposed to be preparing them. The book say when they say with your children, why means do we do this service? It's a preparation. Do you not realize that Yah prepared his son for the purpose of what? Train up a child in the way that they should go, they would not depart. He prepared this man up for a reason and a purpose. When he prepared him and he was of full age, he was able to manifest that purpose. So we have to be able to see that. He said, I will spare them as a father spares his own son that serve him. Well, why does his son serve him? Because I prepared him to serve me, because I taught him and I instructed him and I showed forth that example. So therefore, we can discern between the righteous and the wicked because the father prepared his son for his work. Therefore, the son is coming to prepare us to do the work. And we ought to be preparing our children to do the same. And we pick niggas who can't do it. That's male or female. And then wonder why our children are stupid. I seen a brother say something real talk, man. He said, your son going to school, you put Jordans on your son to go to school, and he's sitting looking at the kid with the Batman shoes on jealous because he wanted Batman shoes. Because that's what you think being a parent is putting them in labels of clothing. Them children don't care nothing about none of that. And you know how we know this? Because you didn't care nothing about it when you was a child. You ain't care about nothing about no Jordans when you were 4 or 5 years old because you was finna run around and play and be snotty and dirty. You didn't care nothing about none of that. That means that's priority. That don't mean you don't gotta have your kids. But them kids don't care about that. What are we putting in their minds and their hearts for them to be the adults, the men and women that we want them to be? And the men and women that we want them to be are going to be contingent on the men and women that we are. Because if we ain't about nothing, they ain't going to be about nothing. If we stupid, they going to be stupid. If we carnal, they going to be carnal. So you got to stand up to your responsibility. You got to be willing to take your responsibility. It's a sacred responsibility to take on a wife. It's an even more sacred responsibility to y'all giving you children. That means he give you something for your charge to care for and to mold and to nurture. He told you you're supposed to nurture and cherish your wife. You ought to nurture and cherish and honor your children. But we don't look at it that way. Because you know why? Because you've been around these white folk too long. Because these white folk tell you, have fun in your childhood. While they telling you to have fun in your childhood, they training their children in many different disciplines and skills. And guess what we doing? Taking them to Blue Clues and Paw Patrol. Them crackers ain't doing that. They got their kids learning classical music. You know what I'm talking about? They sit out here teaching them culture and art and giving them bit. Just like the little white boy we rode past, right? You see what Mom Dude got him in there doing? Jit running a t-shirt company from his garage. Ain't even out of high school. Guess what we want to do with a nigga? Give him a basketball. Give him a football. Go run the ball, son. Go shoot some jumpers for daddy. That's my boy. You ain't teaching him no entrepreneur. You can't teach him nothing because you ain't taught yourself nothing. Come on, man. I told y'all this the other day, man. I'm finna let y'all slide, man. But if you ain't thinking 3-4 generations down the line, you selfish. You know what I'm saying? If you think about how much fun you can have and what you can do, you selfish. You don't care about your churn. You don't care about your grandchurn. You don't care about your great-grandchurn. You selfish. Ain't no way around it. You selfish. If you ain't even thinking about building nothing for your churn, you selfish. You know what I'm saying? And you preparing them to live a life of mediocrity, just like you living. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't gonna do it for yourself, do it for the babies, man. If you ain't gonna do it for yourself, do it for the babies. You know how it was when you were growing up and the things that you didn't particularly care for and the things you wish you had. So why would you not do that for your children? Because you want to have fun? Well, if you wanted to have fun, you shouldn't have been pulling your penis out. You shouldn't have been opening your legs up. Because your life ended the minute that you found out you were pregnant, you were having a child. It wasn't about you no more. It wasn't about you no more. Nobody cares what you want to do. You're a parent now. Got to sacrifice. Ain't that's what Yashar'al did? Didn't he call him? He say he be called Mighty Father? He sacrificed. It wasn't about what he wanted to do anymore. This is, again, even though it might sound like I'm just going on a rant, it's still going on dealing with discerning between the righteous and the wicked. Those who serve Elohim and those who serve him not. Because if we was to open up this text right now, we see Yashar'al gave his whole life up for his children. And made sure he did something to make sure that his children had better than what his other children had before. We got to want better than what we had before, man. But we'll pick up. We got more on discernment, man. We got more on it, y'all willing, man. But hallelujah for Yashar'al in the word, man. We start right there for this evening, man. I'm just trying to tell you, I had to get out of my chest. I got some more stuff for y'all tomorrow on the very same topic, man. But we got to want more for the churn. You got to want more for the churn. Shoot, you should want more for yourself. Do you know what I'm saying? It's ugly out here, man. Our people dying every day. It seems like we can't get ahead. It seems like we're running on a treadmill, ain't going nowhere fast. We continually making bad decisions. You know what I'm saying? And for what? Because the things that are of great value, we don't esteem. And then we done bought the hype, man. These people done told you, Let the children have, let it, you know, like I said, you got to let a child be a child. And you do. And you do. But when do you begin to say that I need to train my child to be an adult? You could train your child to be an adult, and that don't mean they don't get to be a child and not be quote unquote carefree, like they say children are supposed to be. But then you turn around when the children becomes again an adolescent. Son, what you want to do with your life? You ain't prepared him to think about it because he been having fun, blowing snot bubbles and clapping and playing every day. So you ain't even fashioned and started his brain on being prepared to be an adult. I seen the people talking about they need to teach in high school how to manage money, how to do this here. You could be teaching your children this now. Why would you wait till they 12 and 13 to teach it to them? You could teach it to them now. But what it's going to come up to is you have to teach yourself this. And that's where it come in at. You don't want to teach yourself. I ain't talking about learning algebra and calculus and all that stupid crap them white folks be teaching nobody at that school. If the things that you feel like your children ought to know, then you ought to teach it to them now. And if you don't know it, then you need to find somebody who do so they can teach it to you. So you can impart it to your children. Because guess what? That can happen with your children. They can impart it to their children. And their children can impart it to the next generation of children. The same way you need to be learning the word and mastering the word so you can teach it to your children. So they can teach it to theirs. That's what our law tells us to do. This is a simple thing, man. Y'all tell us what to do. Our law tells us to prepare the next generation. And we don't do it. Because we want to have fun. Nigga, your name ain't Cindy Lauper, nigga. That's the problem. Everything ain't always fun. Everything ain't always fun. You can't always have fun. What about the kids, man? Why do we put it in the hands of our known enemies and oppressors to train our children and prepare them for adulthood and shocked when they come home stupid? When I'm talking about stupid, stupid to life. It is not the United States school, whatever they call it, I forget it's not the United States Board of Education. It's not the Duval County School Board job to prepare your children for life. It's yours. They're your children. They're not the state of Florida's children. They're not the United States of America's children. They're your children. It's your job to prepare them. It's your job to give them the tools to succeed in life, not the government's. It's not their job. That's not their responsibility. And it starts now. Don't wait till this nigga 10. But guess what? Niggas don't wait till a nigga 10 to put a football in his hand, teach him the A-gap. Niggas don't wait till a nigga 10 to teach a nigga how to do a crossover. You a runner, teach him that quick. Come on, son. Learn how to do this here. Show him that shot, boy. Look at him, boy. He gonna be a mean ball player. What kind of crap is that, man? Why don't you teach this nigga how to read? You know what I'm saying? How about you sit down and read with him? How about you learn about finances and teach him that at 6 years old instead of giving him a basketball or a football? That's nigga stuff, man. Niggas, we ain't tired of that. Niggas around here sitting back looking at, oh, them white folks told them niggas they can't kneel. And you niggas still want to teach a nigga how to play sports. You still ain't going to teach him how to have any type of thought process to dictate and control and run his own life. You just want to teach him to be an athlete, be a monkey on the basketball court, a monkey on the field. That's sad, man. That's sad. We shouldn't be thinking like that. I've always felt like this before the word. Why would a woman marry a nigga who can't teach her child nothing? Why would you even select a nigga like that? I could see when you were young and you was dumb and you ain't really know no better. But once you get some level, of intelligence, you shouldn't be attracted to the same stuff you was attracted to when you was a jit. You should be. I've always read in books my whole entire life that women are attracted to certain things in a man as far as they were related to their offspring. I ain't seen it in real life application too often. Not too often. I done seen some women choose the dumbest niggas in the world. The most dumbest niggas in the world. And then shocked when this nigga can't teach her children nothing. I'm like, man. I don't understand it. And vice versa. I done seen some dude like, bro, that's what you taught the teach. Bro, that's going to be raising your daughter, bro. Well, your daughter's going to be a whore because her mother's a whore. A whore in the mind. I ain't talking about slinging no vagina everywhere. A whore in the mind. This is what's going to teach your daughter, man. Gotta be better than that, man. I feel like I said, man. I say this sometimes though, but this last generation of children are the dumbest group of children I've ever seen. Late 90s baby, 2000 baby, these children is stupid. And it's our fault they stupid. You know what I'm saying? These niggas are dumb. You know, you pick one of them niggas up, that nigga's dumb. That nigga is dumb. And it ain't even his fault he dumb. It's not even his fault. It's the people who older than him fault. Because we didn't train him properly. We ain't prepare him properly. How do these kids grow up and be stupid, and then we blame them for being stupid? It ain't their fault. How was he supposed to know how to do any better the first 18 years of his life? Nigga ain't told him. Ain't nobody showed him nothing. It's different if somebody showed you something and you chose to be rebellious. But nobody ain't showing nobody nothing. Come on, man. We just throw them kids in front of that TV and slide on off. Start handing them niggas a book. Cut that doggone TV off, get that nigga a book. Do something to cultivate some discipline and consistency in his mind. I thank y'all for my granddaddy making me do certain stuff at 5 years old. And then ain't just let me sit in the house at 5 years old and watch no TV. That man said, go out there and cut this yard real quick, bro. I need you to come in here and I need you to clean the bathroom real quick. I need you to come over here and do this here and do this here and do this here. And then you can watch this TV. You know what I'm saying? Somebody sit back and look at it. You don't need to do them kids like that. Shoot, we raising soldiers over here. I don't know what you're raising at your house. Ain't no pansies around here. You just sit back and look at that. You want your children to be great, then you got to do certain things to instill a level of greatness in them. If you want them to be mediocre, then shoot, do the stuff the world doing. Like I say, man, you ain't got to tell your kids they got to go to college. You ain't got to tell them they got to get a trade. But at the bare minimum, you show them the information and the pros and cons in both, so they already weighing that in their head at an early age. And you break it down to them in the point that they can understand. Just use plain English. You ain't got to be deep with it. Well, Daddy, what's that? Well, this is what Daddy. What's a student loan? Well, this is a student loan. This is how it works. You feel, oh, that's too much for a 7-year-old. Says who? You got kids around here 11, 12, 13 years old, millionaires. Real talk. Done started their own business. You don't know what type of brain your child got because you're not even trying to foster it. Because you putting limits on their intelligence and you putting limits on their wisdom and understanding only because you put limits on yourself. Don't limit them children because you limiting yourself. Them children can do whatever. Fill their mind up with something other than entertainment and stupidity. You'll be amazed at how intelligent your children are. Because it's time for us to do something different. Because there's too many of our sons and daughters dying on these streets, man. There's too many of them going up that road. Shoot, I didn't tell them this day, man. We lost 2 good business opportunities because I done been up that road. You know what I'm saying? If you don't like the fact you work at a job every day you don't like, then try to foster a mind in your child so they don't go in that direction. If they choose to go work a 9 to 5, that's their choice. But foster, you got to do something to spark the mind. As Pop, you got to do something to spark the brain that'll change the world. The first and foremost thing is we need to spark their brain to serve Yahuwah and receive his spirit and live forever. But you got to spark their brain to do something other. You got to spark their brain to do something other instead of just doing the status quo. You know what I'm saying? Wanting better for your children ain't going on more vacations and having nice clothes and toys, man. That's dumb. That's immaturity. That's simpleness. Wanting better for your children is that they create a better life than the life that you were able to provide for them. It's forth as opportunity and resources so they can do the same for the generation that come after them. That's what making a better life is for your children. Creating opportunity and resources, not stuff. It's not even experiences, so to speak, which is nothing wrong with having diverse experiences because that can lead to wisdom. But it's to create opportunity and resources. And that's what we don't have. We don't have opportunity and resources. That's all Dame Dash was telling that nigga, like, okay, you work at the Breakfast Club, but you can't get this to your son. So at the end of the day, what good does that do for your children? It's all about changing our perspectives and thought process and mind frame to just want a little bit more than what these people told us to want. Most of our parents, and most people don't want more because of fear of failure. But you can't be great and fear failure. You don't have to like failure, but you can't fear it. You know what I'm saying? Or you'll never do anything great. If you worry about what people got to say or what people got to think, you'll never be great. And you have to work. You have to have a dedication and a work ethic and a level of consistency unmatched. And that's what stumbled a lot of people up. They ain't got no work ethic. You ain't really willing to sacrifice and do the work that is necessary. And it's a lot of work that's going to be necessary to prepare a child to be great. Ain't no telling what I'd have had if I'd have had especially for most black boys, where they had a strong male figure that had a desire to be great, to be there to teach you to be great. All these niggas want to do is smoke Newports and drink slit malt liquor. But nevertheless, though, man, I bless all y'all out the house in y'all name of Yashar'al HaMashiach. Y'all willing on the Shabbat, we going to continue. Oh, this conversation ain't over with. I still got more for it, though. But I appreciate everybody this evening, man. With that being said, I say good evening, good night, shalom, and all that stuff.